The drama rages onward. The Miami Hurricanes have played 5 straight games in the ACC this season, and every one of them have hung in the balance until the final second ticked off the clock. The Canes lost the first 2 to Virginia and North Carolina. Now they have posted 3 wins in a row against North Carolina State, Pittsburgh, and Georgia Tech. That has catapulted Miami into the ACC Coastal race, as improbable as that seemed a few weeks ago. And the debate rages on about the future of Coach Manny Diaz and Athletic Director Blake James against a very surprising backdrop. Now Miami needs North Carolina to upset Pittsburgh this Thursday night, and that would drop the Panthers into a tie with the Hurricanes in the Coastal at 2 losses. And then the following week, Pitt would need to beat Virginia, and voila, if Miami can keep winning, the Canes are the Coastal Division champs. Imagine that. But of course, Miami must also survive a trip to Tallahassee this weekend, where a desperate old rival in Florida State awaits to try to make something of its own frustrating season and drive more despair into a Canes nation that doesn't seem to know where to stand amidst the ups and downs of this 2021 season. The win streak, Miami, Florida State. We're going to talk about all of that and more tonight as we embark on a new edition of CaneSport Live. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to CaneSport Live. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com. And as always, this is your show, and it'll be driven by your participation. The call-in number is 563-999-3550. That's 563-999-3550. We have more than 100 open phone lines, plenty of room for everybody to call in and participate, as always. You know the drill by now. If you want to come on the show, you hit the number 1 on your keypad. That puts you in the queue. We bring you on the show in the order that you land in that queue. We once again ask the subscribers at CaneSport.com to post the topics and questions that they would like to hear discussed on tonight's show, and we will address them tonight during the course of the evening. So as usual, there's so much on the table as we get together for it live. You have the continued great performances being put up by Tyler Van Dyke. You have the sudden departures of safety Gervin Hall and linebacker Bradley Jennings this past week. You have the state of college football in the state of Florida as well, where suddenly over the last few weeks there's legit debate over which program actually has the least amount of problems. And Miami can make a really strong case now that you have the emergence of Tyler Van Dyke and young players like James Williams and Cam Kinchins and Avante Williams. I mean, they're having problems up in Gainesville, folks. You see the problems they're having in Tallahassee. Miami might suddenly be the hottest team in the state. And that only makes the decision that is going to be made in the coming weeks by the Miami administration and the Board of Trustees that much tougher. Because it opens up the opportunity to punt. That'll be something that I'm sure we're discussing quite a bit, if not tonight, over the next month. And then, of course, you have Canes versus Knowles to bite into. Always an interesting subject. So let's get right out to your calls and talk about it. Again, the number is 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. We'll begin tonight in the 757. You're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening?
Hey, how you doing, buddy? How you doing? Hey, Meister can't give you a shout-out. Hey, Gary, man, your show's good in the morning time, but, man, I love Matt, because Matt be telling how it is. You know, you like to sugarcoat stuff a lot. Let me get you straight. You go back and forth. I don't want to hear you're a good guy. You don't want to put yourself in no negative or talk bad about this or that. Matt be throwing it out there, and he be making it hard, and he just be bringing the heat. I love the heat he bring. I remember you said yesterday, because I listened to you, he was so negative. Man, the man just saying what he feels. You do sometimes, but you don't do it all the time. Well, you'll go back and forth. I ain't hating on you. Well, but you do what you do.
Let me stop you for a minute, okay? Now,
no, you can't stop me tonight, baby. No, I'm not going to let you stop me, because everybody knows what you do.
Wait 1 second. Give me 10 seconds. I have a question for you. Did you not, see them put up 560 yards of offense against Georgia Tech?
I got that, and they did good last week, and they did good the week before, but it's just certain things that just drive people crazy. Like we know the defense. The defense, that's mainly defense. The defense is good, but damn, they look bad sometimes. I mean, just giving up yards. Them turnovers didn't help. No, they didn't. We should have beat Georgia Tech. He's right. We should have killed Georgia Tech. We should have murdered them. It was 14-9. You know, down. The score should have been 28-9. But it's all good. Keep doing what you're doing. Your show is great, but just come with it. Be like Dave Chappelle. But, you know, don't get it twisted. And I'm down with Dave. It's all good. We ain't talking bad about nobody. But now, I know you said you upset about the two guys that's leaving. Let me tell you something. It's a culture problem. I agree. I give you that. But it's kids, man. I work in the schools, and these kids crazy as you know what. Nobody has – they just different. So they mad because they got benched, but the better players are playing. Well, go. And I know what you're saying, Dep. I got you. Man, damn that. Bye. You're a cancer. Get your stuff and go. Jennings was horrible from day one. Hall, he's on ESPN. He's going to make the top 100 this year. That's not good for him. But, hey, we don't need you in Miami. Let the young boys play. Let's beat Florida State. 5 Manning, 5 Blake. But, like you said, there's going to be some hard stuff there. But I don't care. Get rid of them because if we go against Texas A&M at the beginning of next year and get our ass kicked, we're right back to where we started from. And I agree with you there. Hey,
yep.
Right back. So everybody have a beautiful day at FSU. We're coming for you. Talk to you next time. Later.
All right, Kane. Man, I wish you hung around a little longer for some conversation because you brought up a lot of really interesting subjects. All right, I'm just going to comment on one or two of them. Like, I understand Gervin Hall played like crap to start the season. Okay, I'm with everybody 100%. But this is a guy that's in the rotation at a position where you're playing 3 true freshmen, man, and you don't know when you're going to show up to a stadium on Saturday, and those true freshmen are not going to have a clue what the heck they're doing. And it could happen this week, it might happen the week after, or it might never happen, but the point is, you're a veteran guy on this team, and yeah, you got beat out, whatever. You can't stick around for 3 more weeks till the end of the season and be part of the team that you've been part of for 4 years. I'm sorry. I didn't like it. I thought it was a really bad sign. I do think it's a culture issue. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't have repercussions in the Florida State game this weekend. But I know it didn't make things better on the defensive side of the ball. And same thing with Jennings. None of us like him. None of us have ever been impressed with him. But they have hardly anything at linebacker. I mean, he's one of the 3 linebackers that are playing the most. How do you walk out on your team like that? It's not Manny Diaz's fault that in your 3+ years here that you haven't emerged as a great linebacker. I mean, I don't know, man. I didn't like that at all. Kane also mentioned the Meister Kane, and I think this is a good time. And he also mentioned Dave Chappelle. So I don't know. Maybe I'm going to try to turn this into a Dave Chappelle Meister Kane kind of mix coming up here. But Meister Kane, who you know is part of a band, is not able to call the show tonight because he has band practice. Okay, so he submitted his commentary this week, and I'm going to go ahead and stand in for the Meister Kane, and I'm going to read you his always well-crafted commentary that usually either kicks off the show or comes up very early in the show. Hello, Gary. It's the Meister Kane. How are you? And I don't have a song for you this week, but I do have a commentary that I put together, so here we go again. Another nail-biter, another win, another Saturday afternoon, which our blood pressure skyrockets and our hearts race. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Man, how much more of this can Meister Kane, you, and the rest of us Canes fans out there take? Which reminds me of going to my sister's house in Georgia. And if you've ever been to rural Georgia before, you notice a lot of folks in the roads up there. Yes, I know, that has nothing to do with the Hurricane football program, but here's my point, everybody. The Miami roads up there, or the Miami football program, rather, is headed toward that fork in the road. So the ultimate question is this. What does the administration, if Miami somehow wins the Coastal, wins the ACC championship game, goes to a bowl game and wins, a 10-4 finish. Could all that happen? Yes. Are the chances small? Yeah. And what if all these games come down to the wire like the last 3 did? Without me thinking for a second, most of you know where I stand on this situation. Although I coached wide receivers from my high school in New York years ago, before I joined the band, I still see a lot of mistakes that caused me to sound the alarm. Yes, this defense is quite porous at times. Offensively, terrible play calling in short yardage situations. Keep in mind that this is against average teams, not Georgia. Against Georgia, the chances are we get blown out. With that being said, Mike Kane says Miami can do so much better. I think the administration has to see that. Yes, it will require a lot of money, but it's worth every penny. If they, the administration, is determined enough to build it, they will come. The team will win. Recruiting will be so much better, and we'll be rocking to a sold-out Hard Rock Stadium a few years from now with my band out in the parking lot playing at the CaneSport tailgate party that everybody who listens to CaneSport Live will attend. If this administration gets its act together and goes down the right road to Mario Cristobal, we'll be singing and dancing outside the stadium. The time for planning to go in that direction is now. So I'm at band practice tonight getting ready. The opportunity is here. Don't let this mirage of a roaring back at the second half of the season fool you. I'm sorry to say, but there's just too many red flags to stay the same course next year. Not only that, but the loss of key players will add insult to injury. So I say to the university, don't blow this opportunity. Listen to Mike Kane. Listen to us fans. We know you hear the noise. Take the road to Mario. You'll be better off as a university. And that's my commentary for today. All right. I hope I did Mike Kane justice with that. As always, we appreciate his contribution to the show. And with that, the number is 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. If you think you could top the Mike Kane, who came to us remotely tonight through me, let's go to 941. You're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
That was excellent, Gary. That was
oh my
so
God.
The way you did that, boy, I'll tell you.
Wait a minute.
I'm dancing for joy.
You're supposed to be at band practice. What kind of baloney is this?
Okay, here's what happened. My drummer hurt his hand at work, so he had to go to the doctor, and he can't drum. He can't play, so he had to cancel. Unfortunately, it sucks, but that's what happened. So I was able to call on in. I wasn't expecting you to read my commentary, but
I thought that's why you sent it.
Well, yeah, that's what we were planning, but I wasn't planning for Mike to get hurt at work.
So, all right, well, you got to talk for a minute because that wore me out, man. I'm tired. I got to take a rest here for a minute. Whoa, that was some little presentation you put together there, man.
Well, yeah, I worked on it. I guess I'm good at that sort of thing. You know, maybe I should have been a newscaster or something like that in my earlier years. But, yeah, needless to say, though, I want to give a big shout-out to Kane. You rock, brother. You really, really rock, man. I'll tell you. You got it. Same here with everything. Same here with Adam and Greg. You guys are awesome, man. Shout-out to all you guys out there listening tonight. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, we got FSU coming on up, and I'll tell you that's going to be a tough game. Why? It's a rivalry game. It is in Tallahassee. I was debating going on up there, but I think it's a little too far from me from Port Charlotte. It's 5.5 hours. So I'm just going to stay here, hang out, watch the game, and hope for the best, dude. Hope for the best. So,
all right, Mike Kane.
Are you rested up there now, bud?
I am, man. I got my breath back, but man, it's hard impersonating you. That's not easy, man.
Well, you know, I'm working on the stage presence here, and you know, since I'm in a band, you know, you gotta present yourself. You gotta be aggressive. You know, you gotta be really, you know, just gotta go out there and do things. Hey, say hi to my daughter.
Hi.
Hey, how are you? We love your dad.
Oh, thank you.
That's my daughter, Kaylee. She's a cute 13-year-old child.
All right. Does she sing? Does she sing in the band?
She's kind of shy about that sort of thing, but I swear she's got perfect pitch.
All right. Well, listen. If the Canes get Mario Cristobal, and we're having that tailgate party at Hard Rock Stadium, you tell her that we expect her to sing a song for us.
I know exactly what song to put on for her. It's called "Boys" by the Beatles.
There you go.
All
right, Mikester.
All right, Gary. Well, thanks for having me on. Thank you for reading my commentary. And I say peace all to you tonight. And let's go get FSU and try to finish this season strong. Right?
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, my God, man. I expended all that effort reading his thing, and then he's the I guess, second caller on the show. Unbelievable. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go to the 305. You are live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
Good, Gary. How are you? By the way,
what's up,
great
Adam?
commentary.
Did I do okay? I tried.
You did a great job on commentary.
All right, just don't ask me to do an Adam. Don't ask me to do an Adam imitation.
Oh no, don't worry about it. A couple of things. Why did, and this always struck me, and this happened earlier in the year with Pope and Wiggins. So you got Wally picked. Why leave the team in the middle of the year? You want to transfer, that's fine. But Nkosi didn't do that last year. So what do they gain by transferring out early and just leaving the team? And it ticked me off when Brian Hightower did it and Darren Owens.
I'm guessing
so you got Wally
that
Pitt,
the motivation.
big deal.
Here's what I'm guessing the motivation is. I'm guessing the motivation is not risking an injury before you transfer. You know, if you get hurt, you're kind of stuck. You can't. You know, you can't go to your new destination. That's what I'm guessing is the reason. I still don't like it. I think it's selfish. I think you're part of a team that is still playing for something here, as crazy as it seems.
Yeah.
And, I mean, listen, it's crazy. No argument from me. But they are playing for something still. They do have a legitimate shot at winning the Coastal. I mean, if Pitt gets upset by North Carolina and then beats Virginia, all very possible. Miami, if they can beat Florida State and win those last two games, is the Coastal champion. I mean, which would be incredible, but that's the way it would be.
Yeah, but then tell the coaches, look, I plan on transferring, but I still want to be around this program. So
well, if they're not, no, Adam, if they're not engaged and they're not expending effort, you don't want them around the program because now they're a distraction. Nah, you're either all in or all out.
I'm trying to look at it as a team player point of view.
Yeah, as a team player, you're all in or you're all out.
Okay. And any word on the injury to James Williams? I heard he banged up his shoulder in the Georgia Tech game.
Yeah, he was practicing out there with one arm this morning. Clearly, we don't know how serious it is or isn't, but he was at practice in the non-contact jersey, getting mental reps and things like that. He'll obviously be trying to play this weekend. How effectively, we don't know.
Yeah.
And that gets back to my point. Okay, what if James Williams can't play this weekend? Now what? Now you got to ask Avante Williams to play the entire game? Are you kidding me? I mean, it was just so selfish of those guys to bail out like that.
Well, can't they move like Keytron Smith back to safety or Gilbert Frierson from striker to safety? Because don't they both have experience?
I think Amari Carter would be the most likely to go to safety.
Oh, okay.
If they were going to make a move such as that, I mean that one makes the most sense to me.
Okay. And by the way, what a play by Avante Williams on Saturday, just going up and over. I mean,
Great
having
play.
both of them in the secondary for the next couple of years is just, you can see the talent. Now, whether it's used or not is another question. A couple other things. One, what has the team done about their fumbling issues? Because you had Rambo nearly fumbled twice, and we were so much better than Georgia Tech. So what has the team done about those fumbling issues? Because against a better team, we would have lost.
We've seen a lot of ball security drills out of practice. That's what they're doing. They're working real hard on ball security drills. The interesting thing is, and this will be on the website tomorrow morning, but we do a weekly blog with Mike Harley, and Mike thought that the fumbling issues kind of showed up a little bit up at Pittsburgh when a lot of balls were popping out late. We saw there was Will Mallory and a couple others, and maybe they should have done more ball security drills last week before the Georgia Tech game, and maybe what we saw against Georgia Tech was a little bit of a continuation of what started up at Pittsburgh. We don't know that for sure, obviously, but there's certainly something to think about, and so they're doing a lot of ball security drills. Harley, we talked to him about it a little bit. He thinks it's a mental thing, just making sure you keep your fundamentals. And, the thing is that sometimes in games, Adam, fundamentals that they go over on the practice field over and over and over again, still on game day could, kind of fall apart a little bit. And that's what I think happened against Georgia Tech. They just got to get back to protecting the ball properly.
Okay, and a couple other things. One, what do you think the biggest key would be for us to win in Tallahassee for the third straight year, or third straight time, fifth overall? What is the biggest key for Miami to get another win up in Tally?
They're gonna have to play a real solid, game, not turn the ball over. You got to really, you're not gonna, this is gonna be a much tougher game. Florida State is really good at the line of scrimmage. They got two pretty decent defensive ends. And, I don't think it's going to be quite as easy to score points, as it's been in some of these games. And I think it's going to be a little tougher to move the ball down the field. And the one thing you're not going to be able to do is have turnovers.
Okay. And last thing, Manny mentioned going deep into the transfer portal. Obviously, this is assuming that he stays. If he's fired and hypothetically we get Cristobal, all bets are off. But do you see, obviously we hit a home run with Rambo, which even surprised me. I thought he'd be good. I didn't think he'd be this good. What positions do you see Miami hitting hard in the portal? O-line and linebacker, and that's about it?
I think they need more than that. If I look at this team, I think you got to really figure out very quickly, is Jake Garcia a potential portal guy? I know that sounds crazy since he's a true freshman and he basically just got here. But if you're Jake Garcia and you're looking at this landscape with Tyler Van Dyke playing the way he is and running off these victories, you're sitting there definitely thinking about your future at Miami. And you're going to have some pretty good teams looking for quarterbacks right now. And I'm personally very nervous about Jake Garcia leaving. And I think he needs to be given assurances that he's going to be given an even chance to compete despite what's happened this year, because he didn't do anything to lose out. He got hurt and he got taken out of the competition. And I don't, think that you necessarily just, by default say, as good as he's looked, hey, Tyler, you're the quarterback here for the next 3 years. I think you got to be fair to Jake and give him a chance to compete. Now, that said, to do that, he's got to stay through the spring, compete at spring practice, and then evaluate where he's at and decide whether he wants to go in the portal. But I think that's going to remain a fluid situation personally, and I think you can't just you can't let the program get stuck with Tyler Van Dyke and a true freshman, Ja'Cory Brown. So I would consider some kind of quarterback in the portal, me personally. Running backs, I would get if I could get a really good running back in the portal to help Jalen Knighton a little bit, I would do that too. I'm not convinced that Cody Brown's an answer. I have not heard glowing reviews of Thaddeus Franklin. Don Chaney seems to always get hurt. We don't know what's up with Cam Harris, how he's going to come back from that knee injury. If I can get like a Charleston Rambo level running back in the portal, I would do that also and not worry about hurting anybody's feelings. I think they need a number one receiver like Rambo in the portal if they can get one. I love all the receivers on the roster, a lot of depth. I'm not sure that there's another Charleston Rambo who's been a clear number one receiver this year. I love like Restrepo. I love Brinson. I love Jacoby George. I am not sure Keyshawn Smith. Love them all. They're all going to be in the rotation the next few years. I'm personally not convinced that any of them are a number one. And by a number one, I'm talking about a guy like Charleston Rambo, who's capable of putting 200 yards up against Georgia Tech last week, who had a phenomenal game. I think it was against Pittsburgh as well. Rambo is playing unbelievable football. He is a clear-cut number one receiver for this team next year. I'm not sure they have one for next year. I'd be looking in the portal for that. I think there figures to be attrition at tight end, and while I think Mallory will be back and Arroyo will be back, I'm not sure they don't need a third guy there. Offensive line, obviously.
Gary,
Adam,
hold on.
Yeah.
You don't like Mammarelli?
I think you don't know what you have there. He's been hurt. You don't you don't know. I mean, until somebody shows me that there's something. I mean, how do we know? And let's not forget that there's going to be guys leaving and going out into the portal as well. Okay. And like Larry Hodges, I would think would be a candidate to hit the portal. Mammarelli, I'm not sure. But if you're looking at Arroyo there, and Mallory's coming back for a year, and you're not going to play for a couple of years, who the heck knows? Like with this 1 year transfer thing, you got to be prepared for anything, in my opinion. And I don't think you take anything off the table. And now getting to the offensive line, if something crazy does happen and Mario Cristobal does come here, I guarantee you he is hitting the portal hard for offensive linemen. Yeah. And I think that Manny Diaz should too. I think you got to hit it for defensive linemen, both tackles and ends. I don't think you just say, hey, we're good enough there. You definitely are looking for linebackers. I don't think, that there's any question about that. I'm looking for cornerbacks as well, and maybe even one more safety. How about that? Because I think James Williams ultimately has to go to linebacker. He's got to go to outside linebacker. I don't see him as a safety. I hope he's not listening because he'll be mad at me. I know how badly he wants to play there. Yeah. But I see James Williams as an impact outside linebacker, a guy that could be maybe even a first-round draft pick as an outside linebacker with all the things that he can do. And I think he's doing himself an injustice if he stays at safety, so we'll see what happens. But basically, Adam, to sum it all up, I'm looking at everything, man. Because this roster is not even close to competing against anybody any good, with all respects to these narrow victories in the ACC Coastal against teams that none of which are top 25 teams. Okay.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I watched some of the Florida State game, and it's not like Florida State really wowed me against NC State, and we could easily beat FSU. But it's a rivalry game, you're right, and anything can happen. And then, obviously, Vatech and Duke. Vatech looked awful against BC, and Duke is Duke. So, definitely can see us running the table.
Yep. I mean, if they get through this Florida State game, I mean, I think Virginia Tech is checked out. I think the coaches have checked out. I think Justin Fuente knows he's getting fired. I watched their game the other night, and they're down at Boston College by 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And 7 minutes are left in the game, and they're running the ball into the middle, essentially to kill the clock, thinking we have no shot to win this game. And that was one of the most unbelievable things I've seen this entire season. I mean, how in the world do you do that? And that tells me that they have just checked out and are just playing out the string, and he knows he's getting fired, and he's ready to get the heck out of there.
Okay. And
then Duke, you're gonna have to screw up really bad, Adam, to lose that game.
Yeah. Although they did play well for a half against Pitt, I give them that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for taking my call, Gary. Have a great rest of the show.
All right, Adam. Thanks for being part of the show, man. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go out now to the 786. You are live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, great start to the show tonight.
Oh, no, who's this? Everything?
Yeah, buddy. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. What's going on, man? What you got for us?
Great show, man. Great show. Loved what Kane had to offer, and I was worried about you. I didn't know if your heart rate was going, over 100 there while you were reading off Mike Kane's statement there. I was concerned for you, buddy.
Yeah, man. That was I had to do the Meister Kane justice, and then for him to be sitting there in the queue was just unbelievable. I'm like, oh my God! I just went through that whole thing. And he could have done it his damn self.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I don't like to talk about all the coaching stuff and all that because that's not where my energy's at. That's not where my focus is. But if we do have that, if you do have that CaneSport tailgate, I'll be there, Gary. I'll be there, brother.
All right.
Question for you. Biggest concern that I have is their defensive line this weekend. Is that your biggest concern, or is it your biggest concern is how Tyler's going to react to what they do defensively?
You're talking about the Florida State defensive line, right?
Yeah, we're talking FSU, Gary. Nothing else.
Yeah, 100%. I think Florida State's defensive line is a huge concern in this game, much more so than the last couple games that they've played, because those teams, Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh, did not have good defensive lines. And that's why Miami's offensive line looks so much better, because they were playing competition that they could deal with. This is going to be a different beast on Saturday. And we saw how the offensive line struggled earlier in the season against quality defensive lines. And I'm expecting them to struggle on Saturday. I think this is a tough matchup for them. Those defensive ends for Florida State can bring it. They're going to come after Tyler Van Dyke. You know that. You know they're not going to just sit there and let him pick them apart. And the offensive line is going to have to hold up. And the running backs are going to have to hold up too. And Jalen Knighton is not a big running back. So if you're Florida State's defensive coaches, you're sitting there thinking, man, we're going to make this kid do blitz pickups. We're going to beat the crap out of this offensive line that's not any good, and we are going after Tyler Van Dyke.
Well, and that's the game plan that we've all. I mean, any of us that's been watching their team play this year, we know what their strengths are. But that defensive line is unique in that the defensive tackle transfer that they brought in, he's going to give our interior fits. Okay. So talk about communication on that end. Then you got the kid from Georgia who, is going to be one-on-one, and he's going to give each one of those guys fits. So then you talk about all the blitz packages they're going to bring. So here's my point. You can't go in thinking that you're going to run the ball against this team. You have to accept that your strength is your passing game. And with that, with an aggressive defense like this, there are a couple of plays that you always want to utilize to get them to overcommit and open the well. Look for more screens in the quick passing game, Gary. Look to have a two-back set with Burchard. I don't know why it's taken him this long to incorporate him in the offense other than jet sweeps. It's time to go ahead and put more pressure on these defenses at every level. And his last, let's be honest, his last 3 games and the second half against North Carolina, he went ahead and he gave this kid every chance. He opened the playbook up and said, just go get him. You're not going to have the same amount of time that you've had in those games. So everything's going to be much quicker. Gary, perimeter screens, bubble screens, screens to the running back, tight end screens. Those things are all available against this team. I watched them against Clemson. Clemson's offense is pretty horrific. But when they executed their screens well, they got big chunk plays. And we've got enough guys that are decent after they catch the ball. So if this is not going to be part of his scripted 15 plays going in, it's going to be an extremely difficult night. I hate to share this with you all, but I said this about 3 weeks ago. On opening night in college football, the best team in the state of Florida, in my opinion, that night was Florida State. They lost the game to Notre Dame. I get that. But the defensive line that scared me the most was their defensive line, not Florida's. And boy, was I attacked for that on social media on different platforms. But they've been, those three guys have been consistent. They're disruptive as hell. You got to scheme for those guys, but you've got to go back to what you do well, which is throw the ball. We're not going to run the ball well against this team. It's just not going to happen, Gary.
Yep. I think it's a tough matchup. I really do. I think it's going to be another one of these games that goes deep into the fourth quarter.
I don't want to be down 14-0 at the end of one. And unfortunately, that's what I see happening here. Mm-hmm. And what happens with a team like that, they get a little bit overconfident, then they let us back in a little bit because they will let us back in. You've got to be able to attack this team early and make sure that you are forcing them to throw the ball as well. People are saying, well, their quarterback he's a joke. He's horrific. Their quarterback possesses a skill set that gives our defense the most fits because the quarterback can run. And he can buy time with his feet. Not the best passer, but against our defense, the best passer in college football right now, yeah, he threw 500 yards. But the next best guy ran for about 100-something and threw for over 300-something. We've got to go ahead and understand our defense is not going to be able to stifle their offense. It's not going to happen. It's just try to contain them and not let them go off. So if this game is in the 30s, we have a chance to win. But if it's in the 20s, there's no way in hell we're winning that game, Gary. It's got to be either our offense is explosive early on and is able to hang on in the fourth quarter, or we're losing this game.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think it's going to be another, coin flip game. And you win some of those, you lose some of them. So, we'll see what happens.
Special teams, we have not made any progress on our special teams. Our flipping the field has gotten worse. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
We're not the
same. Yeah, he hasn't kicked as well the last
ago.
week or so.
He hasn't. He really has not. And I'll tell you what the deal is. The counters that they're doing to him, they're sending one guy up, and they're bringing everybody on the edge. So when he rolls out, if you look at him, he's peeking now. Now he's worried. He hasn't been like that since he's been here. So he's not getting the full extension on his punch. It's almost as if he's just doing a quick boot. He's not really, and especially with the Australian rules kicking that he normally does, that's not even coming off his foot well. So, and then you look at our coverage units, you have two more kids lead the team. So now these young kids that are playing so much, now they got to play on specials as well as play all the snaps on defense. Gary, it's a major indictment on them to leave their teammates as you're within reach of playing for something special, and you bail on your guys. That's the character that Manny should have seen from these kids early on, and not wasted his time this year playing all these older guys to begin with and playing the younger guys. Because evidently the fabric of that fiber was evident way back when. And that to me is telling of where we're at. And I don't like to get into it because I'm worried about Florida State. I'm not worried about what happens on Thursday night between Pittsburgh and Carolina. I don't give a crap about any of that. I'm worried about my guys. And I want my guys executing at the highest level possible. And I think Mike Serkane brought up, or maybe it was Adam, brought up, ball security. If that hasn't been the biggest emphasis this week on the offensive side of the ball, then I have no idea what the hell is going on. It better be a primary. It better be a primary focus. Because plays are going to be there to be made. Those three guys that on the defensive line, Florida State, don't play every snap, Gary. Look at their snap count. Okay, they're getting the majority of them, but they are getting rest. More so than what we did with Jordan Phillips last year, and the year before that with Rousseau. So there are going to be opportunities there. You've got to capitalize on it. And you've got to make sure you're not turning the damn ball over. I'm hoping that we win this game, but if it's not in the 30s, Gary, if it's in the 20s, it's an ugly game, and I see them getting the benefit of the doubt. And I hate to hear, I haven't seen this fan base gets so goddamn pathetic at times. There's a component of this fan base that has created a web account or a social media account totally defaming this Borregales kid who's a freshman. What in God's name is wrong with these people?
Because he's had a couple kicks hit the left upright. I mean, come on, man.
Hey, I get you, but this is why great kids don't want to come here. He knows. You don't think the kid doesn't think. We all know he knows what the hell he's done wrong. And if you want to get more specific about things, he got right into it against Virginia. And we're going to go ahead and attack this kid and create a web page. What the hell's wrong with people?
I haven't seen that. What web page are you talking about?
I saw it. Somebody retweeted it, and I just saw it, and I saw the mom reply to it, and I was disgusted.
I didn't see it. It was an actual web page.
You know? Actual web page, or like a site or something, or a Twitter page. I don't know, one of those social things. I'm like, you know what? What in God's name's going on? Freaking 18-year-old kid, and the kid's got one of the best legs in all of college football. He's a baby still. He'll get it. But, you know, it's better to have a kid that's not being attacked on the road in Trailer-Hassey when he has a chance to hit the game winner from 46 away, you know? Let's not go ahead and attack a kid. Kid knows he's screwed up. He's the best we got. And let me tell you something. Tons of schools would love to have him, Gary, from right now. So that crap's got to stop. Besides that, let's go ahead and kick their ass. Thanks, Steve. Be well, my friend.
All right, everything. Thank you for being part of the show, as always. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go out to the 845. You are live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, Gary. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Greg? How you doing this week, man?
Good. I'll make it quick. Is there any wonder James Williams has a bad shoulder? You see how he tackles? Throws his shoulder almost every time. I mean, he's not a good tackler, Gary. Okay, I agree with you. He should be a linebacker.
I think he could be a monster linebacker, Greg. I don't think he's going to be a monster safety. I don't think he's got the foot speed. I think he would be a monster outside linebacker.
I agree. Okay. Can you explain to me why we would give the ball to Rooster 32 times? You got to be kidding me.
Desperation,
They
Greg.
couldn't stop us in the air. They couldn't stop us in the air. So on
desperation, man. I mean, the kid was playing great. Like I know they were doing well through the air, but it's not like Rooster wasn't peeling off big gains too. I mean, but they were life or death to win that game, man. They had to give it everything they could. Now, what they should stop doing is having him pounded into the middle like that in short yardage. Like that's exposing him to extra pounding that you don't need to do. And I don't like Cody Brown. He does nothing for me. And Thad Franklin, from what I understand, has been struggling all year at practice. And, you know, I don't think the coaches are real high on him right now. So they don't really have a ton at running back, Greg. They don't have a lot of options.
Okay. Does Lashley believe in going under center on short yardage?
Apparently not.
Why are we? It's ridiculous. Why?
I don't
the
know.
NFL, they do it all the time. It's ridiculous. Tom Brady sneaks every time and makes it. He's 44 years old.
I know.
It's mind-boggling. It's just ridiculous. Like you said this morning, they could have had 800 yards of offense if they made first downs on those 3rd and 1s. Yeah. It's unreal. Okay, how about the fact, how many times in that game did Georgia Tech come up with a mysterious injury after we came up with a big play?
It obviously was a strategy. They took that from FIU a few years ago when they did that.
Okay, somebody on the board had a good point. He said if you need medical attention, you can't come back till that drive is over. Okay, so that will put an end to that.
Yeah, but you can't do that either. I mean, what if a kid legitimately, gets a stinger or has to come out for a play or tweaks an ankle or something? You can't say, "Oh, you can't come back in that series." You can't do that either.
It's a stinger. He's going to come back in on the next play. You got to be kidding. Why? So the thing, it makes a mockery of the game, Gary.
I understand, but it doesn't happen a lot.
Okay. All right. I want to bring up a point about the basketball team, okay? I heard what you said this morning, how you think they're going to be a good team. You say the football team doesn't have any elite talent. Where the hell is the elite talent on the basketball team? Where?
Well, all right. Elite. I don't know. I mean, Isaiah Wong's a kid that they're talking about as a potential first-team All-ACC. Charlie Moore, the point guard, is a veteran kid that's played a lot of college basketball, and he can distribute the ball. He can shoot. I like him quite a bit. Cam McGusty figures that is an older kid who's played a lot of college basketball. He should have a great season. This Jordan Miller kid from George Mason has a really nice game. I like his game. Wardenberg's coming back as a stretch five, a guy that can hit the three, and is an older kid who's played a lot of college basketball. They've got a lot of guys that can play, and I think that if it all comes together, they're going to have to feel their way through this early part of the season. I know they're only beating Canisius by 10 right now, early in the second half. But I think if they can figure out their team and defense and what works best, I think that they can be maybe the fourth or fifth best team in the ACC this year and make the NCAA tournament.
Okay, you also said the short one big guy. Why'd they let Nasir Brooks leave?
They didn't let him. They didn't let him. He decided to leave.
Why are all these players? You're talking about the football team. Why did Likes leave? Why did Timberlake leave? Why did that other?
Because last year was a mess. Last year was an absolute mess, and Likes got hurt, and Timberlake didn't have a great year. The other freshman left early, and he had problems and was a head case, and the whole year was just a disaster.
Okay.
And also there were a lot of issues in the training room also, by the way. A lot of injury issues and a lot of kids unhappy with what was going on in the training room, and that was a problem as well. They had to change the trainer out.
All right. I have a lot of respect for Jim Larinaga, but let's be honest. Since he's been here, how many great players has he recruited? Lonnie Walker and Bruce Brown. That's it. Who else? Those are the only two in the NBA that are halfway decent. You're talking about bad recruiting in football. How about basketball?
Well,
they haven't done one. They've never gone past the Sweet 16.
I understand, but they won the ACC that one year. I mean, that was a great accomplishment.
9 years ago.
Greg, this is Miami, man. If you're reaching the Sweet 16, you're doing pretty damn good.
He got to the Final Four with George Mason.
Things got to fall your way. Once you hit the Sweet 16, you're right there. It's just things got to go your way.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. The jury's out on this team, if you ask me.
Yeah, of course the jury's out. They had a horrible season last year. I'm just saying I think they're going to have a good year this year.
What about the last 2-3 years have been horrendous?
Well, what happened, right?
Okay, I do.
You follow it enough to know what happened. They got derailed by the FBI. They lost 2 recruiting classes, Greg.
Okay, one quick thing about Jake Garcia leaving. If Tyler Van Dyke continues to progress, he could leave after next year. Okay? He can leave for the NFL after next year. So why would Jake Garcia leave? He's one injury away from playing, first of all. And after that, it's his team. So I don't know. I'll let you go. Thank you.
Well, they will have class separation. I will say that. I mean, Jake's going to obviously redshirt this year, and they will have class separation. So that helps. And, like you said, yeah, I mean, Jake could still be looking at being the quarterback here 2 years at some point here. So maybe he won't leave. I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying this is the kid that's never been shy about moving on to a new destination. I mean, he switched high schools twice in his senior year. I mean, he was committed to USC and switched to Miami. I mean, he's not shy about making changes, so we'll see. All right, Greg.
Stop overrating Florida State. They stink. They got 3 wins. They're terrible.
Is Georgia Tech any good? Were you impressed with Georgia Tech?
Gary, we let Georgia. We had 3 turnovers, Gary. Come on. If that,
yeah, I understand the circumstances, but that was a game that was in doubt deep into the fourth quarter.
Manny stinks as a coach. Okay. Let him
go.
Well,
Manny, if you're right, Manny's going to be on the sideline Saturday, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Have a good day.
All right, Greg. Thank you. Wow, we gotta get Greg to come. We gotta bring Greg on Good Morning CaneSport. Let him go at it with Matt. I've been teasing Matt. Matt's been a little beaten. Matt was rattled by that Georgia Tech game, and I understand why. I mean, that's a team they should have killed. Okay, that quarterback. I don't know, that kid must have gone out on South Beach on Friday night. I mean, I tried to call some people at Club Live and ask if they saw him over at Club Live or something, because that kid looked horrendous and looked like he did not belong as a major college quarterback. And he's a kid that Georgia Tech has built their program around. So how the heck that game ended up being what it was, I have no idea. But Greg, you definitely justified him being a little grouchy this week, no doubt about it. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go to the 706. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, it's your boy Sebastian, man. This was my day.
What is going on, Sebastian?
Remember, man, I called Manny being fired after the Georgia Tech game, so I was wrong. And so I definitely have to give it up.
Was this the week you were supposed to be the first caller?
Yeah. This was the week I was supposed to be the first caller. I thought Georgia Tech was going to blow us out the water, and I was just completely wrong. So, this is almost like a positive call. My hat's off to him. I was like Matt, just frazzled, thinking that we could lose such a winnable game, and but we pulled it out, and. I mean, the kids got to feel good about going up to Tallahassee and really playing for something, right? Instead of having the whole mood just completely bad. Gary, when we talked last week, you was like, everybody was on a sourpuss mood, and you was like, what in the world can change it? Is there anything possible that can happen? And I don't want to count my chickens before I hatch, but if they keep winning, they win the ACC, they win a bowl game, your whole content is going to have to change completely.
Well, let's take 1 week at a time. Got to get through Florida State this week.
You know what, and that's the right approach to have to be able to do that. I guess this is what I want to talk about tonight is, a lot of the Cane's success has been through transfer portal, and so that means that whatever we've been doing recruiting just is not working. And so I wonder what kind of conversations, if any, is the coaching staff kind of having in relation to how do they evaluate players and how do they bring players into their football program? Because if nobody's looking at that, then I don't see how we ever get better.
Sebastian, to my eye, unless I'm missing something, like the whole recruiting department, like they have great player relation guys. Like they got like David Cooney and Edwin Pata, even Mike Rumpf. I mean, they're okay in player relation guys. What I don't see in the building is an NFL level talent evaluator. Okay.
Yeah.
And the guy that's running recruiting, I've shook my head from the day he got hired. He came, I think, from Arizona State. I don't know, what. He had a relationship, I guess, with Manny going back a while, and that, Manny gave him a job here. But you can't just put anybody in charge of the recruiting department, okay? Like, you got to have guys that know what the heck they're doing in there, that can watch tape, can do proper evaluations, that know people in the schools and can make phone calls and do background checks and find out about things like character and things like that. Like, recruiting is not something to be taken half-assed, I'll tell you that. And, my opinion is that at Miami for many, many years, recruiting has been taken half-assed. And the proof is in the pudding. Look at the recruiting classes of the last 10 years. Every year, it's like they've recruited half a class. If you look at the production that comes out of recruiting, it's like they have been literally on self-imposed probation going on 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And it's unacceptable. You can't have a top-shelf football program running recruiting the way it's run at Miami. And that's the first thing that needs to be fixed.
When you're spot on, because when I look at recruiting, it's horrible to look at, like, the players that they're recruiting and they're giving offers to, because I'm just like, we know this thing is not going to work. Like, when I saw Larry Hodges, and nothing against that kid. I don't want to try to insult him or his family or something like that. But I'm like, that just does not look like an NFL tight end. That's my mindset. Every kid that we offer, can you see this individual playing on Sundays? And when you're recruiting 5'9", 5'10" linebackers, I'm like, that's not what's going to the league. That's not what's going off to the NFL. And too many times we're passing up on kids that has the measurables. There must be a head case, or there must be something behind them. I just don't understand how recruiting, like Jalen Harrell. We fought so hard to get him from Florida State and fought off Georgia Tech, and he never sees the field. And we're talking about we down safeties or whatnot. Was he not a safety when he was recruited? Could he just absolutely not play the position? What's going on there? Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me. But I'm going to spin it positively,
How about the kid that left last week? The defensive tackle is a true freshman, from North Carolina. Like, that was a kid they reached for. And boom, just like that, poof, he's gone. Like, you would have never known that kid was even in the program.
The thing about it is, I'm just like, was there just absolutely no kid in the state that you could have took a chance on instead of going for him? Did you see him play a lot? Was he somebody that you scouted for a couple of years, or was it just somebody that says, hey, here's my film, and I'd love to be a Hurricane, and and that's what we're doing? I'm just like, I just don't get it.
This stuff keeps going on year after year after year, and everybody just shrugs their shoulders. Oh well, another one. All right, we'll replace them in the portal or whatever, and then they wonder why new seasons come and they're life or death to go 8-4 or 7-5, or they go 6-6, or 7-6 or 6-7, and of course that's what's going to be the byproduct of conducting business at that kind of level.
I look at the last 2 years. If we don't get Derek King, we're not an 8-win football team.
No chance. That would have been a 5-win team last year. 5 wins.
Right. And if we don't get Charleston Rambo this year, no telling what our record would be like. And so I don't know what you guys get a chance to when you talk to the coaches or really kind of dig into the program. You have to be seeing this stuff. You have to stop back and say, look at my last 5 recruiting classes, and if I'm only hitting on 40% of the kids that I'm recruiting, that's what needs to get overhauled, because this is not sustainable. You never know where injuries are going to come. you got to have backups that are ready to come in that are, that's going to be ready to play in a year or two. And if you're not doing that or whatnot, just trying to do a Band-Aid on it, never's going to get us to the point that we're going to be kind of like over the top. Before you put me on hold, what's your prediction for this week? Do we win? Do we lose? I know you never like to give out scores.
Flip a coin, Sebastian.
Got to give it to you.
Flip a coin. That's what I think about this week.
I think if we're not leading after the first quarter, it's going to be ugly. If we're leading after the first quarter, I think it's going to probably come down to a Borough-Gallus field goal. I think they're playing a Florida State team that's been playing better. They got derailed a little bit last week by some a virus that afflicted some of the key players and stuff, and they were not at full strength for their game last week against NC State, which is a very good team, as we know. And I think they're getting those guys back this week, and I think that they are due for a very good game, and I am expecting it to go right down to the wire like all of them. Okay. All right, Gary, man, it's a good show, man. Like I said, I hope next week is going to be good. But remember, this was my weekend that I predicted. So if we get toasted by Florida State, I may be a week too late. So we'll see. Keep me on hold,
man. All right,
man.
Sebastian. Thank you for being part of the show, man. All right, 563-999-3550. 563-999-3550. Hit 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show as we head into hour number 2. Let's go to the 213. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Yes, the 213.
That's you, man. Who's this?
Peter from LA calling again.
Hey, what's up, Peter? Welcome back, man.
Oh, hey, happy to be back. You guys got me hooked on the call-in approach instead of just the listen later approach.
Yeah, man, it's fun calling in, and it's fun for us because we get to hear different voices.
Definitely. Well, unfortunately, you're stuck with mine for the next minute or two.
All right, we'll make the best of it.
I'll do what I can. I'm happy that those guys left. I hope more of them leave. It's kind of embarrassing for probably themselves. It's one of those things they're going to probably look back at when they're 25 and go, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I looked like an idiot doing that. But they got to start the wheel moving. There's guys who play. I just can't even understand. I don't want to get after naming names and stuff like that, but we were talking about, we're going to have a small class and, morning canes, and so they should get rid of 15 guys and be able to bring in some new blood. Well, they're helping that. I'm getting a little nervous, I'm not going to lie. I don't see a loss in these next 3 games. I'm scared to death. Talk me off the ledge.
What, you mean because you're cheering for a loss?
I'm not cheering for a loss, but I honestly don't see the status quo system as being sustainable. I think it was Greg said, Florida State sucks, they're 3-9. We could easily be, or 3-6, we could easily be that. We could so easily be a 3-win team right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
it could have happened, but it didn't. They've had 5 coin toss games in a row, and they've won 3 of them.
They have. It's I don't know. I think that.
Here's what I think, Peter. I think you got to detach from the order that these games have been played, and I think that the challenge for the administration and the board of trustees is going to be to look at the entire body of work and not get caught up in the order that the games were played, but look at actually what really happened. And the fact of the matter is this. The best team that you played, Alabama, which is one of the top couple teams in the country, couldn't even begin to compete with. You were totally outclassed from the second you stepped on the field. Okay, so you know that. Okay, not even close to being a top 5 or top 10 team. I think we knew that going in. Getting killed in the fourth quarter against Michigan State, and I still think that's going to end up being a 3-loss team. Same deal with them. You can't get caught up in the order that the games are played. You got to look at the whole body of work. They lost to Purdue. I think they're going to lose to Ohio State, and I think they're going to lose to Penn State. That's just what I'm expecting right now, and then we'll see who they play in a bowl game. But that's a good team. a good college football team. They're a top 20 team, and they come into your home stadium and they ran you off the field in the fourth quarter. They went into Purdue last week and got beat. Purdue is an average team in college football, but they were able to beat Michigan State at home. Miami should have been able to beat Michigan State at home. Okay, then you're in coin flip games every week in an ACC that doesn't have a top 25 team this year. Just an average conference full of average teams, and you're just one of the pack. Okay, so they got to make a decision. Number one, what do they want to be? And number two, once they figure out what they want to be, if it's better than what they are right now, can Manny Diaz take them there? And if they come to the conclusion that the answer to that question is no, then they got to summon the willpower to, if they can do something about it now, they got to do something about it now. And I don't think you change just to change. I think you replace Manny Diaz if you can hire somebody better. Okay, this doesn't have to be, I'm going to go spend $250,000 and hire a search firm and, go through all of that in this situation to end up with another Al Golden or Manny Diaz. I think you got to target a couple guys, and I think you got to make inquiries on a couple guys that you have experts identify for you as guys that could come into the Miami program and turn it into an elite program. One of those is very obvious, without question. And whether they can get him or not at this point, I think is still to be determined. But that would be a targeted pursuit, and that's what I think they need to do right now. And they need to figure out if they don't think that Manny could take them into the top 10, then they got to look to see if they can get somebody better. And if they can't, then they should stick with Manny for another year. And I know people get mad at me when I say that, but to just make a change, give another guy that isn't good enough a 5-year contract, have to sit here and wait 3 or 4 years to figure out that he's not good enough and be in the same exact place as they've been for the last 18, 19 years, accomplishes absolutely nothing to me. That's why I have the opinion I have. If I'm running UM football and UM athletics right now, I'm answering those first 2 questions. I'm probably answering the second one and saying, no, I don't think that this is reality. I don't think that Manny can get this program to a place where it's in the top 10 every year. And I'm calling and I'm seeing if the Mario Cristobal camp will listen to me. And if the answer there is no, then I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, who else can I consider and make an inquiry about that can accomplish the same thing? And if I can't pull that off, then I punt for a year. That's just me.
Well, here's my concern with that. I mean, obviously, if you and I were in charge, that's what would be happening. My concern is we know who's in charge, and it isn't pretty. And we're going to get into a point now with like Manny.
Peter, who do you think's in charge?
And
wait, are you there? Peter, you there?
Yeah, no, I was giving blank names because.
Well, who do you think is in charge of University of Miami athletics right now?
I don't know. I mean, I know who isn't in charge, and that's Blake James. I don't think that liaison from the board of trustees is really in charge. I think there's probably some little factions among the board of trustees.
Is in charge.
You think the president's office is in charge? Seriously?
The president's office is in charge at the moment. Yes. And
you think that guy's engaged in this?
100% he's engaged. Absolutely. Wow. Very actively engaged. Because if they're going to do something, if they're this year, Peter, they got to be ready to move in 3 weeks. Right?
I think, and a lot of universities across the country kind of fall into this mindset where a coach has to justify being terminated. So they'll waffle. Well, now we're kind of at a point where we saw what Manny said earlier this week, the Blake James situation kind of throwing my job security under the bus hurts recruiting. So he's got, 1 year left on the contract. If he survives this year, I think we're looking at, that kind of extension conversation for the sake of his ability to manage the program and recruit, which he doesn't do well anyway. And that's kind of a big concern for me because if they extend him, they're not going to can him next year. We're probably looking at 2 more.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I don't think there's going to be a rush to extend. I think if it became a show extension, it's really almost irrelevant. What really matters is the buyout, and I think there's a lot to prove there before the University of Miami does anything that involves a serious commitment.
I'll believe you. You know better than I do. That's why I call and listen.
But that said, if they finish the season with 6 straight wins, I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for them to pull the trigger. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't do it. I think they got to decide what they want to be. And if you want to be a top 10 program year after year after year, and then you got to put your big boy pants on and be willing to take any hits that anybody might give you, and say, oh, how do you fire a coach that just won 6 straight games? And I think you got to make a move. But if that's not what your agenda is, and you sit there and say, well, we think that maybe he can do this. He just won 6 straight games. Then I think they would let him come back.
Yeah,
save him a lot of money.
Definitely. I mean, my personal crystal ball projection for the rest of the season is we win out. Pitt probably ends up winning out. We don't go to the ACC championship game. And then it's like, okay, well, we're on this winning streak. We're going to hold on to Manny. And sometime in late December, mid-December, we play some team from some other conference and get a cold splash of water in our face and go, oh, God, what the hell did we do? Like, that's what I personally think is going to happen. But
I'm straddling the fence right now, Peter. I could see either scenario playing out. First, I want to see what happens Saturday at Florida State. I think this is going to be a tough game.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you get rolling now. There's a lot of people on the line.
All right, Peter. Thank you for being part of the show as always, man.
Hey, thank you.
You got it. It's very, very, very tough to navigate that issue right now because of the winning. And I know a lot of guys are saying, "Oh, geez, this is why they should have fired Manny 3 weeks ago, so they didn't have to go through this." But at the same time, he's won 3 in a row. And you got to give him that. And I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the year. I don't know what's going to happen Saturday. Like I said, I'm expecting a tough game. But I don't personally think any of it is relevant to the decision that has to be made in 3 weeks. And it starts with, what do you want to be, University of Miami? Do you want to be Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State? Is Miami capable of being that again? I think they are. If you ask me, I would say absolutely unequivocally yes. I mean, Miami's capable of winning 8-9 games, being average as can be. What if the program were run like a first-class operation with higher quality talent evaluation and recruiting and player development and all the other things that go into running a program? I think Miami football can be Miami football again. That's my opinion. But what does the president's office think? What does Rudy Fernandez think, who's advising the president? Echeverria, what does he think, who's working with Rudy to advise the president? What does the Board of Trustees think? Do they think Miami could be at that level? I do. But I don't know if they agree with me. If they agree with me, then they get to question number 2. Can Manny Diaz deliver that? That's a little easier question to answer because you have a body of work that is very deep. Okay, it goes 2 decades. Okay, so all you got to do is look at that. It's like reading a racing forum for the Kentucky Derby. You've got a body of work that you could sit there and look at. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go to the 504. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Gary, what's going on, man? How you doing? It's Roland, New Orleans, man.
What's up, Roland? How you doing this week?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Doing good.
Man, I know they got that Florida State game and a couple other games, but just to be honest, man, I'm rooting for the team, but damn, I hope I hate to say that. You know what? To be honest, I don't want them to win those games, like I said last week, so we can get crystal ball in place and Highsmith and get somebody to recruit, because it's ridiculous, man. You got kids leaving the program like Jennings and Hall. Not to say that they were great players, but just from a depth perspective. So what if Williams is not being able to play at 100%? Kitchens and a lot of other guys. You got guys leaving the program. It's not even going to transfer portal. They're just leaving the program. So you got a cancer that's going on.
It's walking out the door the week of the Florida State game. Unbelievable.
That's crazy. So if that doesn't lead to looking at what's going on throughout the top of the program or who's leading the program, it's got to be gutted. Regardless of if they win. I'll tell you this: if they go out and win next 3 or 4 games and then go to the ACC championship or whatever you want to call it, it still doesn't justify. It does not justify having 8 recruits, and out of those 8 recruits, none of those guys are offensive linemen, D linemen, game changers. It doesn't justify the University of Miami bringing Manny Diaz back as the head coach. It just needs to be a whole overhaul. And even with this game against Georgia Tech, I'm gonna tell you right now, that kid Sims, if he could have literally he had guys wide open. It seemed like he was just aiming the ball versus just letting it flow. That game could have been a whole lot different. And then
he was
that team was what, 3?
That kid.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I took that game, and I just shook my head. Defense gave up tremendous amount of yards. It's just something's not. We've been saying this for a while. It's just a whole. When you look at it, if a head coach has to go to switching this whole roster over from juniors and seniors to freshmen, obviously, you want your fan base is behind the program and you want to support the team. But this is obviously getting into Manny Diaz, personally, and he's making these changes, saying, hey, I'm gonna play freshmen. I mean, that's the thing. How many times can you go to a transfer portal, and then how many guys are we redshirting and developing them physically? You know what I'm saying? So. And you got like James Williams. He's going to be a sophomore next year. Then he'll be a junior. And then 9 times out of 10, going to the NFL. So they got to get rid of Manny Diaz. It's not even no if and but about it. They should just let the season play out. It is what it is. And then abruptly make that decision and be extremely aggressive and put the proper management in place to implement successful Miami Hurricanes football. Plain and simple, man. So that's my thought.
All right, Roland, you got anything else for us tonight?
No. I just want to get your input. I know you were speaking earlier, but I just wanted to see what your thought is right now, just in general.
Thank you for being part of the show.
Yep.
Talk to you next week. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Got to be able to put your big boy pants on if you're making decisions. That's the bottom line. This is going to be a big one. They got about 3 weeks and counting to get ready to start making some moves, and got to put the big boy pants on. Let's go to the 850. You're live on CaneSport Live. 850, you with us? All righty, you're gone. Going once, twice, 3 times. Let's go to the 727. You're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. How's it going, Gary? This is Jake from St. Pete.
What's up, Jake? How you doing this week?
Good as I should be on a 3-game winning streak. That game, I was there. Oh my God, it was just. I was very displeased when
the turnovers. It was the turnovers and the short yardage problems, Jake, that turned about a 25-point win into a life or death battle. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, I thought in that first quarter, I thought we were going to win 70-0. I mean, we were just trouncing that team, and then just coughing the ball up. It's almost like there's something with this team. They have to be like, it has to be neck and neck. Otherwise, they
always
just can't
be
seem
something
to play unless. It's like, they can't just like blow a team out. I mean, they should have, based on that first quarter. I mean, what they have, 300 yards in that first quarter? I mean, they were just marching the field at will. But then you keep coughing the ball up.
There's always got to be something.
It should have been 35-7 at half. I mean, that's and then I mean the 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1s, those are turnovers. Like when you're that's the same as an interception as far as I'm concerned. Like you're giving up massive, especially when you got a kicker or a punter who's booting the ball 40, 50 yards every time he kicks it. When you go for that and you don't get it, that's as good as an interception. So I mean, they had 5 turnovers in that game as far as I'm concerned, and the tackling wasn't as bad. I mean, it's sad that we're saying 14 missed tackles isn't bad. I guess you're really setting yourself up for disappointment there when you say 14 missed tackles is an improvement against the. I mean, that Gibbs kid is pretty damn good. I'll grant that, but still, that's the only kid's literally the entire team. So, letting them hang in there is just embarrassing. But, we've probably talked it to death, and I'm sure it probably will be over the next 3 weeks. But to me, the only way I think Manny should stay is if he wins the ACC. And I'll grant that's completely out of his control at this moment. But, you do sometimes boil my blood a little bit when you say we haven't beaten anyone. We have beat 25 teams. I will give the team credit for that. They are still top 25 teams.
They're
now.
not.
I'm not saying they're great, but
they're not.
They're above average teams. They're good. They're not going to make the top 10. That's for certain. But regardless, that was just an aside. But we did beat 2 top 25 teams. I like to give credit where credit's at least due. But,
that's fair. That's fair.
Though,
if you want to look at them as that level of team, then that's fair. And that's in the eye of the beholder. I'm not knocking that.
You still gotta beat better than that, or at least be competitive with that. And I mean, at that, they still barely won. But to me, the thing to keep Manny, just winning out isn't enough. I mean, you beat 2 good teams, and then, to win out, you'd have to beat 4 garbage teams. So great. Who cares? What really concerns me is he's got to prove that he can win the big game. And I know, like, Wake Forest is not a world beater, but that's a high pressure. Never been there before. It hasn't been done. So if he can do something that has never been done, I say, okay, fine, let it be. Bring him back. I mean, at that point, I think if you win the ACC, you kind of have to. I'd almost say you owe it to the players. Clearly, they would have been playing for him at that point, and they believe in him. They just won the ACC. Miami's never done it before. Regardless of how ugly it was to get there, I think it's at least legitimate to say that it happened for the first time in, 17 years has it been that we've been in the ACC? So to me, that's the only way, though, because my biggest concern is I think I may have asked you about this, and if I have, I apologize, but it looks like next year we're going to have Texas A&M on our schedule. We don't have 2 of our non-conference games filled out, so my assumption would be is that we're going to do 2 more of those pay-to-play games where we're going to have Central Connecticut State and Bethune, or one of these crap garbage games that no one cares about. So you look at next season, and
it's very easy to say, all right, Texas A&M, that's probably a loss. I mean, it's even Alabama struggled at Texas A&M. It's one of probably the hardest stadiums in the country to play at. But other than that, very winnable. ACC's losing a lot of its good quarterbacks. What kills me, though, is the idea that next year Manny could easily, especially if they hire or put 2 more shit teams on the schedule, he's looking at an easy path to a 10-win season, and then it's like, oh, problem solved. But all we did was beat up on 5 shit teams and beat a lot of coastal teams that lost a ton of talent and upperclassmen that they held over from COVID. So it's not really going anywhere, and we're stuck in the mud. And the record wouldn't reflect that, however. But at a certain point, you're going to lose the actual quality that Manny has brought in and recruiting in the last 2 classes, not likely in this class. And then, now we're 2 years down the road, and then we're rebooting. And so to me, it's just like you have to do something to prove that you can do something definitive with this program. And to me, that's the ACC. I don't think he can do it, and half of it's out of his hands, but it's just you have to show something unique that indicates, because otherwise it's just we're spinning the wheels. And I know you love Mario, but I've been looking at every coach available and whatnot. And to me, the 2 that really stand out is Bill O'Brien and Billy Napier, and those guys are gettable. They're relatively cheap. You don't have buyout complications. I mean, Napier probably has one, but that's nothing. That guy spent 10 years of his coaching career in Alabama and Clemson. I know he's not proven at the Power 5 level, but, spending 10 years in those programs.
They're both good coaches. Do they walk into a room in South Florida and command the room? Like, do they captivate the community? I don't know.
I think Bill O'Brien could. I mean, you're talking Houston's one of the worst franchises in the NFL, and he put them in the playoffs 4 out of 7 years he was there. And I'd say the last year he was tanking it. The guy's coached plenty in college. He's just got a
very
master
good coach.
class
I don't know how good of a recruiter he is. Very good coach.
He held Penn State together with that shit show with Sandusky, so I don't know what it's tough to correlate that into top tier success, but there's a lot of people, myself included, that thought that team basically had the death penalty there with all the bad PR and everything, and he kept that ship together. But bottom line is there's gettable guys. Those are just 2 to me that
those 2 are
Miami
absolutely gettable. I agree with you that they're both gettable.
They don't have to break the bank either. So if they want to, it's not going to be cheap, but if you don't want to spend $15 million on buyouts.
Bill O'Brien, Jake, was the head coach at Penn State for 2 years, right? He went 8-4 and 7-5. Okay, I mean, does that get your lather up? I mean, I don't know. I mean, 4-4 in the conference is last year at Penn State. You there? Did we lose you? All right, I guess we lost you. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. But, yeah, I mean, that to me is the dilemma for the University of Miami. And hiring a coach is not going to be an easy process. I'm a big fan of the Mario situation because I see what he brings to the table. I think that's a guy that does command the room in South Florida. I think he owns the town if he comes to the University of Miami. I think he immediately elevates recruiting to the level where it belongs. I think if Mario Cristobal came to Miami, that they would have a great chance to get Shamar Stewart to not go to Texas A&M. I think they'd have a great chance to get Earl Little Jr. to not go to Alabama. You can go on and on and on, right down the list. Right now, if you look at the top 20 players in Florida, Miami's no place with almost every one of them. I mean, that's unacceptable. I mean, you can't get the Hurricanes to the next level if you can't recruit better than that. I mean, that's my opinion. And I think that Rudy Fernandez and those guys who right now are entrusted with evaluating all of this, they got to put their big boy pants on and look at it honestly. And because it can go on like this forever. You can win 7, 8, 9 games every year and be not real good and not recruit any better than you're recruiting now, because Miami's always going to get some players. I don't know, man. It's like I've watched this now for almost 20 years. I feel for this fan base. I want to see this get fixed. I don't want to see it keep getting pushed to the next season and the next season and the next season and have nothing get better. So whether that means Manny or no Manny, I mean, Manny's a good dude. Don't blame Manny. You've heard me say that. The Manny that's sitting in the University of Miami head coach's office today is no different than the Manny that was given the keys to that office 3 years ago, or that came to Miami 6 years ago. In fact, I would argue Miami's gotten the best of Manny, especially those first few years as defensive coordinator. That was the best of Manny. Manny wasn't a top-shelf defensive coordinator. Got fired from the best job he ever had. Let's go to the 386. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, how we doing tonight? Appreciate you taking my call.
Who's this?
It's Will. I got a question for you. A couple of comments. You and some of the callers have already touched on one of the things that I wanted to say, and that was if the University of Miami and its fan base is satisfied with going 8-4, 9-3, then Manny Diaz is your head coach. If you're not, if you want to compete for championships, then it's time to cut the cord and move on. But my first question to you is I understand that Blake James didn't do a coaching search, but other than that, why are people mad at him when he hasn't coached one player and hasn't recruited one player to the University of Miami? And when the hire was made, when Manny Diaz was hired, how did you feel about the hire at the time?
I was stunned, and not because I have any issue at all with Manny. I mean, I was just stunned at what he did. Like he made Manny the head coach without even taking 5 seconds to see who the pool of who his pool was. It's like right now you can sit there and look. Okay, I can go to Alabama and take a run at Bill O'Brien, no argument. And then I pull up Bill O'Brien and I see that he went 8-4 and 7-5 at Penn State. His second year at Penn State was 4-4 in the conference. I don't see a whole lot of proof there that this is a head coach that's taken my program to the next level. Now I know he was in the National Football League, and his teams went 9-7, 9-7, 9-7, 4-12. Then in 18 and 19 he went 11-5 and 10-6, and I believe they fired him after 10-6, right? Did he get fired after that? I mean,
he got fired.
Why'd they fire him? I mean, I would be looking into that before I thought about making him my head coach. Billy Napier doing a decent job down there in Louisiana. Definitely a guy that's going to get a job. There's no doubt about it. But can he come into South Florida and captivate the community better than Manny Diaz? I don't know that. I mean, I don't have anything to go by. I mean, I could take a horse out at Gulfstream and put him in the Kentucky Derby, but am I going to pick him to win? With no proof that he's that level of horse. I mean, So I don't see where there's any proof whatsoever with Billy Napier, A, that he's that level, and that it's worth the University of Miami taking a risk on. I think Billy Napier's got to go take another job first. Billy Napier needs to go get a job like Mario Cristobal has at Oregon and go prove at Oregon that you can win conference championships. Mario's won the last two. Now, I know he kind of backed into it a little bit last year because he had no quarterback and they blew a few games they shouldn't have blown, and hopefully that doesn't happen to him this year because the refs stole the game from him at Stanford, and now they have no margin for error whatsoever, even though they beat Ohio State at Ohio State earlier this season. But the point I'm making is at least there's some pedigree there. Like, you look at Mario Cristobal, he spent those three plus years at Alabama working under Nick Saban. He was named Offensive Line Coach of the Year and Recruiter of the Year during that tenure. He studied under Greg Schiano. He was a head coach for 6 years at FIU. Now he's in his fourth year at Oregon. He's got 10 years of experience as a head football coach. He's won back-to-back Pac-12 titles. He won the Rose Bowl. He's got his team this year on the cusp of the college football playoff. Take a look at Jimmy Johnson's record before he came to Miami. Mario Cristobal's got a better resume than Jimmy Johnson had before he got this job. So, people say to me, Gary, you're Mario. Listen, I'm looking at the facts, okay? And I see a resume there that you can work with, okay? Plus, I know you bring that guy to South Florida, and he's going to own the town. He's got the personality. He's got the presence. He can go all. This guy in a COVID year at Oregon recruited the top player from 9 different states. Who else in college football can do that? Nick Saban, maybe? Like, are you kidding me? Recruits the best player in 9 different states, and those guys can't even take a campus visit? I mean, come on, man. That to me is unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And if the University of Miami were fortunate enough to get that guy to come here, I mean, I don't know what would happen, but I'll tell you what, I like that shot. Like, I like the racing form on that one. Can I say the same thing about Billy Napier? I can't. Can I say the same thing about Bill O'Brien? I can't. He went 4-4 in the conference at Penn State. He didn't win anything at Penn State. In the NFL, he had decent teams, but they fired him. So, I don't know, man. I hope it works out.
Okay, I'm not sure you answered my question about Blake James. Other than him not doing a coaching
Blake's
coaching
been
search,
the AD. He's been the AD now for 10 years. It's 9 or 10. I think it's 10. I'd have to look up the year, but I think he's been a good placeholder. He's done some good things. There hasn't been a big problem with Blake James, but when he handled the coaching transition after Mark Richt the way he did, and rushed through this hire of Manny without taking a look at who else out there might be a candidate, including Mario Cristobal, who since then has won the Pac-12 title every year, who won the Rose Bowl, who's recruiting at as high a level as anybody in college football, at Oregon, which is in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I think that's soured, and the fact that it hasn't worked out very well has soured a lot of people. I mean, when you go 6-7 and you're losing to FIU, Louisiana Tech, Duke to end the year, and then last year you're giving up 800 yards of offense to North Carolina, getting blown out of your home stadium, and I know they finished 8-3, but anybody with sense knows that De'Ara King was the difference between 5-6 and 8-3. I mean, he single-handedly won 3 games last year. This year, I mean, it's going okay. I mean, you've won a few, you've lost a few coin toss games. We'll see how it finishes. But if you're looking at this, you're understanding that this can go on like this forever. And Blake James got Miami into this mess because he didn't do a proper coaching search, and that has soured him with a lot of people.
Okay, my second question is, I heard Randy Shannon say one time that the guy that decides whether or not you get the job, you may not ever meet him or may not ever talk to them. You have any idea who that might be at Miami?
Who's going to make the decisions? I think the president's office, and I think the president is deferring to his two lieutenants who are bringing in top-shelf business people to advise them. And I think that they're getting organized behind the scenes. I think they've got the money in place that, that they're willing to make the investment, but I don't think they want to throw it in the garbage can. And I think they're talking to a lot of people, and I think that they're evaluating the situation, which is what the president asked them to do. And in a few weeks, they're going to have to make their recommendation to Julio Frank.
Okay. And my final question, everything we do in life, we need a plan B. So if you have an opinion, I'd like to hear it on my plan B.
My plan B.
What do you think of?
Okay, if you decide you're going to make a change and you can't get Mario Cristobal, who to me is unquestionably, and there's nobody I've spoken to that has suggested otherwise, and I'm talking about knowledgeable people out there in the world of football and stuff. If you can't get Mario Cristobal right now, I'd be very careful about reaching just for somebody. The big question would be, can you not get him because he needs to stay at Oregon another year because he's got a potential playoff team coming back next year too, which he does. And maybe he's not ready to leave Oregon right now. And if you wait a year and you see how next year goes or whatever, maybe it becomes a better option. Then there's a lot of factors that go into this, and I don't have the answers right now. I think they're going to work themselves out over the next few weeks. But if you can't get a freaking whale, I don't just fire Manny just to fire Manny. If you're firing Manny because you're upgrading. If you don't know you're upgrading, then I keep the money in the bank for when I can upgrade. That's me personally. You can come back with Manny and win 8-9 games next year.
That's not going to win a chance. You're not competing for a championship.
I understand that, but is bringing Billy Napier here gonna win a championship next year? Like, what can you latch onto that gives you any sense that could happen? Before Miami talks about championships in 2022, Will, there's a lot of work to be done, man. There's a lot of work to be done in the transfer portal and everywhere else. You got to change the culture of this team so that guys aren't walking out the door in the middle of the season if they're unhappy with their playing time. Look at all the guys that have walked out this year, including Pope and Wiggins, who had every reason to be upset and know they were never going to play. But what's with this walking out in the middle of the season? What is it like? What is it accomplishing?
Well, one person I wanted to get your opinion on. I wanted to know what you thought about. My plan B would be what you thought about Chris Peterson as a coach.
He's part of the pack. Miami is one of the hardest jobs in the country. If you can't captivate people, look at who's been successful here. Howard Schnellenberger had one of the most unbelievable presences that you'll ever see in your life. He walked into that head coach's office in 1979, and he owned South Florida from the minute he stepped foot there. He had personality, he had charm, he had marketing sense. That guy had everything, man. That guy was the complete package, okay? He had studied under Don Shula and Bear Bryant. He had pedigree. He had pedigree as an X&O coach. That guy had it all, okay? Unfortunately, he got a little big for his britches, and he talked himself into a career move that he shouldn't have made. Otherwise, he might have been the next. He might have been our generation's Bear Bryant. Okay, Jimmy Johnson got off to a tough start that first year. He was forced to keep some of Howard's staff. They weren't all on the same page. You had guys sitting there that were bitter. Who's this guy from Oklahoma State? Sam Jankovich knew what he was doing. Jimmy Johnson, once he got his feet into the job and had his people in place in the program, you saw what happened. That guy was a special talent. And you saw what happened when he went to the NFL. And he's in the Hall of Fame now, right? You think Manny Diaz is going to be in the Hall of Fame one day? Do you think Al Golden's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day?
No.
The University of Miami has not been hiring coaches at that level, Will. Okay, so then Dennis Erickson gets here, right? Dennis Erickson was a great football coach. Sam Jankovic knew what he was doing. He had a national championship-ready team. He went out and got himself a great, innovative, as good of a football coach as Dennis Erickson was. He couldn't handle this program. He couldn't captivate South Florida the way that the guy in that office needs to be able to do it. And the job ate him alive. He won those 2 national titles because the talent that was left to him was so enormous that because he was such a great coach, he was able to win the national titles. But he couldn't sustain it, right? Because he didn't have that pedigree. Dennis Erickson was better than Chris Peterson. Dennis Erickson was better than Bill O'Brien. Dennis Erickson was better than Billy Napier. Dennis Erickson couldn't sustain it at the University of Miami. See what I'm getting at? So then you start going through these other guys. Finally, Butch Davis comes in. Butch Davis had presence. Butch Davis did captivate South Florida once he got his feet wet. Butch Davis proved that he was that kind of dude. And when he left, he also left a loaded program, just like he did when he was here with Jimmy. The program was so loaded up that Larry Coker came in and went to back-to-back national title games. But Larry Coker couldn't captivate a room. Larry Coker couldn't hold the University of Miami together. You see what I'm getting at? This is not an easy job, man. You got to find a freaking alpha dude. That. Will, you need an alpha dude in that office that can freaking do it all, man. And if you don't have that, don't put him in that office because you're just going to be spinning wheels for another 10 years. They've had to go out and spend the money for a guy that has a chance to be that. To me, when I look at all of college football, Mario Cristobal is the guy that jumps out to me. I think Mario Cristobal at Miami would have a chance to be Jimmy Johnson and Butch Davis.
All right. Well, I'll tell you this much, and I say this, I mean this in a humorous way. Now, if Mario Cristobal comes here and falls on his face, then you are going to get tarred and feathered because you are the one that went to bat for him more than anyone.
Backing off what I'm saying, Will. Yeah, you can tar and feather me all you want. I'm telling you, I want to see this program get back to being what it is. And when I look at the landscape, that's the dude that has the capability of recruiting and running a program and hiring the quality of coaches and everything else and personnel people and strength trainers and recruiting staff people in the back office and everything else. To me, that guy has the capability to do it. And I don't see a close second. And you know what? If he can't do it, then I'll be the first to say, all right, I was wrong. But I don't know who the hell is going to do it.
Thank you for taking my call, Gary.
All righty, Will. Hey, thank you for being part of the show. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. Hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. I'm not getting a payoff if Mario gets that job, just so everybody knows. Nobody's writing me a check or anything. I want to see everybody that is listening to this show tonight be happy with Miami football again. I want to see this program get back to where it's in the top 5 pretty much every year. It can happen. There is no doubt in my mind. I've been here 40 years, okay? I know what it takes. I know it can be done again. I know that what it takes has not changed. I want to see them get the right person in that office who can put the right group of people together to make it happen. And I love, top to bottom, everybody that's in that program right now. They're all very good people. I can't tell you one turd in the whole place, okay? They're all great people. There's not one person in the building at the Heck Center and the Schwartz Center that has ever won anything in football. No championships. There's nobody, not even in administration, who has been where it's successful. There is nobody there that knows what it's supposed to look like. And like I said, they're all good people. I love every one of them. You know, they probably don't love me so much when I say that, but that is the truth. I mean, it's the truth, okay? That has to change. The University of Miami, whether it's this year, next year, the year after, whatever, at some point they have to find the will to go find that dude that knows what it's supposed to look like, that has the plan to make it happen, and can come and execute. That's simple. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad. If you want to come on the show, let's go to the 985. You're live on CaneSport Live.
You're stealing all my thunder, Gary. I mean, if I'm Mario and he comes here, I'm hiring you as my recruiting director.
Dude, listen, he doesn't need me to be his recruiting director. That guy is the freaking Tasmanian devil when it comes to recruiting. Okay, that guy sleeps about 3-4 hours a night, and the other 20 hours of the day he's recruiting in some way, shape, or form. I think he recruits even when he's on the damn practice field.
Here's the deal: if Manny wins, if we beat Florida State 80-0, if we beat Virginia Tech 100-0, if we beat Duke 120-0, if we somehow backdoor our way into the ACC championship game and win that game, if we go to the bowl game, I think it's the Orange Bowl, and win that game, you still fire Manny Diaz. Why? We don't want to be Michigan State. We don't want to be Purdue. We don't want to be a mid-tier program. We want to be a program like Alabama, like Georgia. We want to be a program that's going to yearly compete for national titles. Manny does not have it. Why do I say Manny does not have it? Look at what he's saying right now. Look at what's happening with the program right now. 2 kids leave the week of FSU. One of the most selfish moves that any teammate could make. They're already talking about 5, 6, 7 other players jumping to the transfer portal, which, by the way, is something that Mr. Diaz is salivating over right now. If you just read between the lines in his interviews, we're in a new world of college football. We're going to walk through this world together of college football. This is the way it's going to be. The transfer portal is an integral part of, building college football programs. Absolute garbage. All of it. It's garbage. He's lost South Florida. He's lost the respect of in my opinion, anybody that was even considering coming here. That's why everybody is kind of waiting and seeing. You got to get rid of them. You got to make the move to get rid of them, no matter what happens over these the last few weeks. It's insane not to. We don't want to be a mid-tier program. What's that?
Your name? Yeah, what's your name? I didn't get
Swagger.
Your name when you came in. Swagger? Oh, hey, Swagger.
Swagger.
All right. So I just got an email from the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. All right. And they just released their rankings. All right. I'm looking at this. Number 1, Georgia. Miami would lose by 40, 50 points to that team. Alabama, we saw what happened. Oregon, they would get killed by Oregon. Ohio State, they would get killed by Ohio State. Cincinnati, I mean, I don't really have a feel for Cincinnati. I don't have a feel for them. Michigan, I don't really have a feel for how they would compete against Michigan. I'm not going to sit here and say something stupid. They got blown out in the 4th quarter against Michigan State. Oklahoma, I think they get killed. Notre Dame, I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma State, which beat them in the bowl game last year, they've come back this year, and their program's gotten better. They're number 10 in the country right now. Miami's program's gotten worse. Texas A&M is underrated at number 11. They would crush the Hurricanes right now. Wake Forest, I don't think that they could stop their offense. Their offense is really, really good. I mean, it would be a scoring fest, no argument there. But
it would be what the North Carolina game was this past week. 59-54, 60, whatever. It would look like that. Something like
so
that.
Now you're down into the 12 to probably 30, where everybody's pretty similar. I think you could win some and lose some in that arena. Like NC State's number 16 right now.
It worries me that you say that these guys in Frank's office are the ones that are running this whole, looking at this whole thing. That scares me to death.
Well, it's better than Blake, because Blake wouldn't be thinking of doing anything, because Blake.
Well, I mean, Gary, are they any better? These guys up there in the president's office. Who are these guys?
Listen, from what I have been hearing, I like what I'm hearing. I don't go too far. I'm not looking to screw these guys.
What are you hearing? What are you hearing?
I'm hearing that they're surrounding themselves with some pretty high-level, competent people that are good business people that understand the importance of hiring and who you hire and how important that is and things like that. And what that's going to mean in the end, we don't know yet. We will see. But I'm encouraged by the fact that the president's office had the instinct that it needed to step in here and do a complete evaluation of athletics and football, and that's what they're doing. And we will see where that leads them. But I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm hearing, and we'll see what that means down the road.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's good news. But you can't stay in the philosophy of Diaz and expect to have a national title competing football program with this idea that the transfer portal. Look, I've got my own opinions on the direction of what college football is going right now. Something like 3,000 kids in that portal. I think the portal is going to be unsustainable over the next 5 years. That's me. I mean, I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I think something's got to be done with that. You know, you take a look at Charleston Rambo and Tariq Stevenson balling out this year, especially Rambo. Stevenson's coming up, but Gary, both those guys, they're gone next year. They're gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're gone. Rambo's gone. Stevenson's gone next year. You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gone. One year wonders. How do you build a program like that? You know, and everybody will say, "Oh, well, Mel Tucker says hi."
Hey,
Michigan
how
State.
about
We're
this?
Not Michigan State. We're not Michigan State, Gary. We don't want to be Michigan State. Remember the days when we used to laugh at Michigan State? I remember. I know you do. You've been here 40 years. We're not them.
Swagger, how about this? I know what you're saying about the one-year wonders, and I agree. What if you didn't have those guys this year? What if you didn't have Rambo and Tyreek?
Well, I mean, that just goes to show you even more. I mean, look at what it just proves my point. You know,
and Tyreek, you got because it was a chance for him to come back home, and he wanted to come back home. He had enough of Georgia. Okay, great. And Rambo, you got because De'Ara King recruited him. They had a relationship back from Texas, so De'Ara King recruited him. Yeah. That's why you got Rambo. Otherwise, they don't get Rambo.
I mean, I agree. You can't. And again, to keep that circulating, and I agree with you, we can keep that up for the next 10, 15, 20 years if we want to. But is that going to lead us to where we want to go? No, absolutely not.
Look where it's led them so far. They got frickin' Jalen Phillips, guys like Jalen Phillips to come here to go, 6-7, 7-6?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not sustainable. You got to be able to recruit traditionally.
Yeah, if a guy like Mario comes in, you're right. Year one, he hits the portal hard. Why? Because the roster's so screwed up, he'll have no choice. But after that 1 year, you're going to see a monster wave of recruiting. And who's he going up against? Look at the big three: Norvell, Mullen. Who knows what's going to happen in Gainesville, right? I mean,
yep. You have an opportunity right now, if you're the University of Miami, to take over the state of Florida. You got to seize the 100%. Moment, man. It's like you got to see that. If you're the athletic director or you're the president's committee that is advising the president, whatever, you have to see. You got to have a sense and a feel for the landscape and the opportunity. And if they called me on the phone right now, I would say, Rudy, you have a chance to take over the state of Florida right now.
Not only that, look at the state. Look at college football as a whole. Saban doesn't have too many more years left, and there are a lot of other schools right now that are looking for coaches, or will be. And so it's not just the state of Florida. You got to look at the big picture. I mean, nationwide. With Mario's, I'm with you, Gary. I'm with you. Well, where I'm not with you is the Florida State game. I don't know where. I mean, I think we beat them by 2-3 touchdowns. And here's why I say that, because you know, in Miami, Miami wants to make things interesting, right? They want to make things interesting against the Georgia Techs, the Virginias, the NC States, the Syracuses, whoever it is in the ACC that we play, until Florida State shows up on the schedule. Some reason, well, I mean, obviously a rivalry game, but we always show up for the Florida State game. I don't think you'll see the fumbles. If we don't fumble in the Georgia Tech game, we beat them by 4 touchdowns. I just think we win this game going away. I think TVD has a big day.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure.
You think so?
I do. I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure. I think Florida State gets after the quarterback. I think the offensive line is going to be exposed a bit. And I think it's going to be a very tough game. I think it's another one that's going down to the wire.
I just don't see it, man. I've watched Florida State in a couple of these games. Man, that offense, Gary, they're bad. That offense. If Jordan Travis can't throw, who knows if he'll play. People want to talk about McKenzie Milton. McKenzie Milton was running for his life against North Carolina State. They couldn't block. They couldn't block the North Carolina State defensive line. I actually like our defensive line against their O-line. Silvera, Johnson, McLeod, even Ford. I mean, I think we get after him big time. I think we win going away. That's what I see. But Manny's got to go no matter what if we want to get our Canes back. We can't keep running this merry-go-round of these 8-9 win seasons. We're not going to get anywhere. It's like a hamster on a wheel, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see, man. It's like I think this could go on like this forever if you wanted to. Like it really can. I mean, you hit the portal, you get a couple guys a year, you play in a bunch of average teams, and
yeah, let's go recruit. 10 to 12 high school kids, and then get the rest from the portal. It doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. So anyway,
yeah, and last year's recruiting class was a little bit of an aberration because of COVID, and credit to Manny for making it pay off and getting a few good players. I mean,
well,
but we're seeing it go back to where it was now this year. This year they're not getting anybody. Miami is a non-player in recruiting, a total non-player in recruiting, both in the state of Florida and on the national landscape. You wouldn't even know Miami
because he's not even good. I mean, look at the state of this team throughout the season, right? Manny's beholden to the older guys. Manny likes the transfer portal. Manny doesn't really like recruiting. By forced attrition of the season, nobody's fault, no blame there. We get the younger guys to start playing. All of a sudden, these guys improve, right? Isn't that all funny? It's kind of funny to me because what happens if, and I'm not saying TVD is going to go out there and beat Alabama, but look, I'm sorry, people don't like me saying this. Tyler's playing better than what De'Aaron was at the beginning of the season. I don't think that's the same De'Aaron King in Alabama as what we saw last season. I don't think he was ready. But to me, TVD is running Lashley's offense probably better than what De'Aaron King was. Fair?
Well, the offense has changed. You got to understand, the offense has changed, and they've been playing some very average defenses, quite frankly. I mean, NC State was a decent defense, but Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech defenses were not very good.
Fair enough.
Pittsburgh was a little bit of an aberration because Miami's biggest weakness is at the line of scrimmage, and Pittsburgh didn't have the personnel at the line of scrimmage to exploit that. Neither did Georgia Tech. NC State did to a little bit of a degree, but it was a night game at Hard Rock Stadium. They didn't play their best, and Miami caught them. Okay, I think anybody that looked at NC State's team would say NC State's a little bit better team than Miami this year, top to bottom. But you catch them at night at Hard Rock Stadium, play a decent game. They played an average game. You won a close game. Things played out well at the end of the game. Florida State is going to challenge Miami much tougher where Miami is weak, in my opinion. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying who's going to win or lose. I think it's going to be another tight game into the fourth quarter, just like them all.
Do you think James Williams is going to be able to go this week?
I don't know, man. He didn't look good in practice today. He looked hurt in practice today, so we'll see.
From what y'all said, he was dragging his shoulder around basically on the grass. So that's why I'm asking. All right, Gary. I appreciate you letting me on, man.
You got it, man. Thanks for being part of the show. Let's go to 786. You're live on CaneSport Live. 786, you with us? Going once. Going twice. All right, next time. Let's go to the 786 again. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary. What's up? How are you tonight?
Hey, speaking to the phone, we can't hear you. Who's this?
This is Flex.
Hey, what's up, Flex? How are you, man? Your voice is coming through a little muffled, man. Make sure you speak into the receiver.
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
Much better. Go ahead, man.
Is that better?
What you got? Yep. What you got for us?
Yeah, no, I've been listening to you talk tonight. You're sounding perfect tonight. You're really going to bat for the university by. Well, I
started out the show having to impersonate the Mikester Cane, and I don't know if you were listening at the beginning every week when the Mikester Cane does his thing. And I had to really get the blood boiling a little bit and try to rise to the occasion, and that kind of set the tone. So I've been a little fired up tonight.
No, that's good, bro. Because like I tell you all the time, you have a big, you have a platform, and your platform is needed in order to help us get our, like you said, get our team back. It's good for business for you.
I want to see all you guys be happy again, man. All you guys need to be happy again. This program could be such a source of joy for the entire community. It's a community that I've spent every minute of my life in, from the second I took my first breath, and I understand what Miami football means to South Florida, and I understand what it could be, and I don't think you hold that back for political correctness. Or for the sake of saying, oh, I want to be fair to this or that or whatever. This is a big time, big boy. This is big boy business, man.
And Gary, I want you just to stay true to, and when before the season started, the one thing you kept harping on is you said, if Miami doesn't win 10 games, 9 or 10 games, and get to the ACC championship and all of that stuff, that it's a bust season. I want you to stick by that. One.
Now they can still get there, Flex. They're close as hell right now. If they can win Saturday at Florida State.
But they won't win 9 games in the regular season, like you said they have to.
No.
It won't
well,
be
I
9.
never said 9. I said I thought they would win 9. I didn't say that that's what it would take to win the Coastal, because I had no idea. But I thought that could be a 9-win team this year. Yeah.
Yeah, but and then besides that, I'm just listening to you say that the president's office, and I've been looking up this guy Rudy Fernandez. I've been looking up Epstein, and it goes, and all the information that I can gather, it goes back to what you said tonight. It goes back to what your good friend Alonzo Highsmith said a couple of weeks ago on the Lamar Thomas show, in that none of these people they don't know shit about football. They've never been around championships. And now I hear you say that they're serious because they're hiring some type of business firm. Gary,
no, they're not hiring. I didn't say they're hiring a firm. They're not hiring any firm. They are.
What did you say?
They are doing an evaluation, Flex, of the athletic and football programs right now, and they're talking to a lot of different people.
But did you say that? But Gary, didn't I hear you say that the president's office are consulting with professional business?
They're consulting with high. Wait 1 sec, Flex. They are consulting with high-level business people in the community, guys that have made themselves billionaires, guys that run Fortune 500 companies.
Right.
It's not about football yet. It's not about Flex, it's not about football yet. It is about the University of Miami athletic business. That's what it's about right now. It'll get to football.
Okay.
It'll get there.
Okay.
But right now, this minute, as we sit here tonight, it is about the business of the University of Miami athletic department.
But here's the thing, Gary. Here's the thing. The business of the University of Miami football or our athletic department begins and ends with football, like it does at most universities. It
Correct.
begins and ends
that's why
with
it's going to get.
okay.
That's why it will get to football.
But that's why it should never have to get to football. It should always start with football. And my point in bringing it up to you is that I spoke about this with you a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, a couple of weeks or whatever. But Julio Frank knows nothing about football. The university and its board members, one of the second criteria, and no later than 3, the first or second criteria should be that the president is very knowledgeable of football. In order to,
well, he's not, and neither was the previous president.
Right. And this is what I was going to ask you also, right? When Larry Coker was hired, who was the AD that hired Larry Coker when Butch Davis left? Who was our AD then?
Paul D.
Paul D. Okay, all right. Yeah, terrible hire. It's what sent us. It's what sent us.
He was not a terrible hire, Flex, because he got you to 2 national championship games and really won 2 national titles. Flex, come on, man. You win 2 national titles, and I'm going to say he won 2 national titles because he really did. That's not a bad hire. Now, he couldn't sustain it, and he became a bad hire because he couldn't sustain it.
What you said, Gary.
But would you trade, Flex, let me ask you a question, and then I'll let you keep going. Would you trade 2 national titles for 3 average years?
Gary, that's not a fair. That's apples and oranges, and here's why.
You'll take the 2 natties, won't you? And that's what Paul D did.
But it's not a fair statement because of what you said. Even what you said about Dennis. Butch left that team so stacked. You could have hired the defensive coordinator instead of Coker, and it would have been the same outcome.
Okay, but when they hired those guys, they didn't know that they weren't going to be able to sustain it. In fairness,
everybody knew that roster was stacked like that.
Sam Jankovic is saying, "I have a stacked freaking roster. I need to go get myself the best X and O football coach that I can find," and he went and got Dennis Erickson, who was as good as it got at that point of his career. That guy could draw up offense like no other. He was writing textbooks about it.
But it was short-term thinking. But anyway, moving on.
The job ate him alive. It's a hard job. It's one of the hardest in college football. Ate him alive.
It's exactly what you said, and I commend you on this. There has to be, and there can only be, an alpha male, and I agree with you 3,000%. I want you to start screaming it even louder that Mario Cristobal is the end-all, be-all for this job. And if
for this
Mario
job, he is. Yes.
Yes, this job he is. And if Mario's not here, I wish you would hurry up and get on the Lane train, because Lane's
a train wreck, dude. Listen, he's a train. I know too much about Lane to get on that train.
I know a lot about him too, Gary. I really do. But listen, Gary, hear me out. Everything that you say about the coach that has to take this job and the coach that can handle this job, Lane has those qualities. Now, I will agree with you on this, though. Lane has had, when he was younger, he's only 40 now. When he was younger, he had some issues. I think he's grown out of those issues, which is why I think that job with him and Saban and what he learned under Saban and now what he's doing with Ole Miss.
Flex, let me ask you a question. What do you base that on? What do you base that on?
I base that on Lane is a recruiting extraordinaire. Lane is a high level. See, Lane has.
But how do you know the other things you said? Do you know somebody close to him? Do you know him?
Oh yeah, I know. I talk to Luke regularly, and Luke has even said some things that Luke.
Oh, Luke.
I talked to Luke more than once. I talked to Luke more than once, and when Luke screams Lane, I tell Luke, I say, Luke, well, what about this right here? I heard about Lane with the girls and this girl and stuff like that. I don't want to say it over the air, but Luke's like, yeah, he did that. I know he did that. He was in his 30s. Lane has grown up, but but let me finish this point and agree with you. The thing that you always harp on is recruiting. And then you harped on, even with Manny, he was never a high-level defensive coordinator. Lane has always been a high-level, at the elite offensive line. One, two, wait, Gary. Two, more importantly, that you always talk about, he's a high-level recruiter. Always has been. Lane, when he went to Tennessee, he was getting players in Tennessee that they had never got, but he didn't want that job. He wanted the USC job. He never wanted the job. He got the USC, and he pissed on himself because he was 36 years old or 35 years old. And I agree with you with that. But if it's not Mario Cristobal with all of the qualities that you talk about, Lane Kiffin is the only other guy that has those similar qualities. He's the only one that can recruit. He's the only one that commands the room. He's proven he can recruit. He's proven he comes with a high level of something that he does very well, which is offensively coach a football team. But now move off that. You're absolutely right. Mario is the perfect guy for this job. I hope the administration, this Rudy for I just don't have any faith in them because, like Alonzo said, your friend said, they don't know what it looks like. None of them never been there. So now the president's entrusting these guys to come back and tell him basically who they like. It's just basically who they like and what they know.
It's not exactly like that. I mean,
okay.
I think what they're doing is they're talking. They're researching things. They're talking to a lot of people. They're getting. And the other guy that
you know very well on the board, he told me a couple of days ago, man, I ain't even listening to the shit that people are talking to me about right now. That's what he told me, and that's the God honest truth. And I don't know what that means. I didn't want to keep like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I just was like, okay, well, man, I hope it works out. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't have any confidence that these guys. I think Manny is going to win out. I really think he is, and I think it's going to do exactly what you said it is. It's just going to roll it over. He can't recruit. He's never been able to recruit. I talked to a person that's on the recruiting staff of the University of Florida. He's on the staff. He's from South Florida. He used to coach at Southridge. I won't say anything else, right? Okay, he's on Florida's staff, right? He kind of started the kids that from Palmetto that are at Miami right now to even considering when that Florida scuttlebutt was going on. That's how it started with him, and he flat out told me that kids that they are recruiting and Florida State is recruiting and Miami's recruiting, he flat out told me that the kids want to come to Miami, but that Norvell but that the kids can't. Manny's not a good recruiter, basically. Norvell, he said some kids don't even want to go to Florida, but all three are recruiting, and he said they want to go to Miami. But what he hears is that the kids say, but damn, the guy at Florida State recruits us better. The head coach at Florida State recruits us better than Manny does. Mm-hmm. And I'll even ask you this. I want you to answer this before I hang up. How is it that Florida State's keeping their class, keeping those 2 5-stars, and they're top in recruiting right now, top 5 or something, top 10?
No, they haven't done it yet. Now, let's not count chickens before they hatch. There, they haven't kept them in yet. Signing day is not for 5-6 weeks.
But
6 weeks.
Right. But how are they able to even stay where they are now with the worse program or worse record than Miami has? How is that happening?
They're clearly doing a good job in some way.
Because like I told you, we should fire Manny today. And you keep saying no, I keep saying yes, because it will at least tell kids he ain't.
Like I say the same thing every week. It's not that I'm saying no, don't replace Manny. I'm saying that there was no value in doing it in the middle of the season. They could still make the same decision in 3 weeks, whether the record's 8-4, 7-5. It doesn't matter.
But what you're leaving
they just got to make the decision.
But you keep leaving, Gary, this is the only thing you keep leaving out. You keep leaving out that the kids, when they look, see, you keep talking about what Miami can do, and you're right about what Miami can do, right? But you're leaving out of the equation the perception that the kids are having about the program. When you get rid of Manny, it changes the perception of the kids. Now the kids' perception is that of what USC has going on, or even that of what Florida State has going on. Florida State, one thing those kids know that are committed to Florida State, they know that Mike Norvell's going to be there. He ain't going nowhere. There's no scuttlebutt, there's no chat about him being fired or replaced. It's not the same at Miami. And with Miami, every kid understands they don't know if that guy's going to be there or if he ain't going to be there. If you get rid of him, he's not there.
But aren't they still waiting to see who is going to be there? It's the same thing.
Some of how the same thing, because some of them have committed to other programs because they don't know. Miami was in it for so many kids, man. Some of them have already recruited.
Shamar Stewart has already said he's not doing anything till February. Okay.
Oh, I told you. I told you. He wants to come to Miami. He wants to come.
I understand. So my point is that it doesn't matter whether you're replacing Manny in September or November or December. You're still going to get your chance to recruit that kid. He's the best recruit in South Florida. You can go right down the list. Earl Little at Heritage is being recruited by Mario at Oregon. He's been to Oregon twice.
Yeah,
what do you think what do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen there if Mario comes to Miami? It's not a big deal. None of this is a big deal. It's really not. That's what I keep trying to tell you guys. It's not. It's it doesn't matter 6-6, 7-5, 8-4. They either are going to make a move or not make a move. It's the same decision.
Nigel Lee Kelly. I mean, I don't. If it was
another
one, then how come U.S. No, I'm telling you what he said. Nigel Lee Kelly said straight up he would go to Oregon. He said, well, his mom, who's in charge, and like I said, Gary, I wish I could talk to you on the phone and I can tell you like the people that I know and talk to, then you really understand who, my connections in this community. But his mother.
Shoot me an email with your number. I'll call you.
Yeah, 786-506-3502.
Oh, I got your number. Right. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Anyway,
all right. I'll call you tomorrow.
But his mom said, Gary, basically that if Mario Cristobal recruited her son so good, she said that the visit, the way that they set it up, listen to this. She says that when you enter Oregon, right? She says that when you're a top recruit, she said the minute you step on campus, you're greeted by the entire administration and the entire coaching staff. She said it was like this huge party and this huge congratulation, and like they treated her son like a royal king or something. The minute they stepped foot on the campus, she said she had never experienced anything like this. She said that it's just so far. She said, but this Mario guy recruits so well, it still has her thinking about sending her son across country, and she wants to be at every game, and she knows she can't make it because she's a teacher. I don't know if you know that or not, but
So if they bring Mario in, what do you think happens with him?
Exactly, and it just goes. And I'm just patting you on the back, saying once again, this fucking guy can recruit. He's a recruiting extraordinaire.
I know that.
So, but Gary, remember, I know everything you said about Lane. You're talking about a guy in his 30s, man. A guy that had a lot of power. He was given the keys to too many fast cars before he knew how to drive, and that was that, right? Okay.
Just remember, you're asking an institution to risk $36 million on whoever they hire. All right, Flex.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. I'll try to give you a call.
Talk to you later.
All right,
okay,
man. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Yeah. Let's go to the 850. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary. Not going to hang up this time like a damn fool. Yeah, this is Travis up here in Tallahassee.
Hey, what's up, Travis? How you doing this evening?
Yeah, another night, man. Finally got some good weather up here. No more of these 100-degree days. Just wanted to start it off with Team Macho Dell, always and forever.
He's got a cult forming.
Yeah, he does, man. We love his opinion. But I wanted to answer a couple callers' questions, and I think one of them is Will's. Why do we hate Blake James so much? He's been there since 2013, which if you add it up, it's either 8 or 9 years. I don't know how that works, like with athletics or whatever, how many sports have happened during that. But you have, and I've said this before, this is a repeat of something I've said on your show, but you have 3 main sports at Miami. You got baseball, you got basketball, and you have football. And over that time span, I believe he only has 2 ACC victories. We have the basketball one that you were talking about earlier, and I believe the football one where we got blown out by Clemson was under his watch. All right? So those are the 2. That's reason number 1. Reason number 1,780, he let Al Golden stay for too long. Then he hired whatever his name is, Mark Rick. All the crap coaches you start forgetting about. Mark Rick was a great coach who did great things for the university, but he was on the way out and probably never should have been hired in the first place, right? Then he does what he does with Manny. So right there alone, the baseball coach that we have now, I mean, everybody can say whatever they want. That's a nepotism hire. You know what I mean? That's you're a son of the bot guy? Great. Let's get some money in here? Cool. You can be the coach of the team. Amazing. That's what we got going on with the administration in Miami. That's why he needs to be fired. He is the cancer of the program. You were trying to explain earlier when somebody was bringing up all these coaches, Chris Peterson, Bill O'Brien, Billy Napier. When you're thinking about a coach, the next coach of Miami, here's what you have to think about. When you're sitting in a 5-star South Florida recruit's room, his mom's there, who's always an important factor. His mom's there, and you're talking about presence and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Can they beat the big recruiters that come and poach our best players every year? Nick Saban, Ryan Day, whoever the Lincoln Riley, Dabo Sweeney, Kirby Smart. Are we hiring a coach that can even remotely compete with that? And if the answer is no, Billy Napier, Bill O'Brien, Luke Fickell, any of these guys that people are bringing up, then need not apply. That's why I'm also on the train. If you ain't hiring Mario Cristobal, you might as well just keep Manny Diaz, because it literally means nothing.
Yeah, you're going to invest the $30-35 million in a guy that doesn't give you a conviction that he can be that dude here? Like, I wouldn't. I can listen. In all fairness about Lane, like Lane Kiffin, and I know everyone, there are a lot of people like him. I mean, I can see why. Like, at least he brings something to the table. Now, would I be risking a $35 million check on what I know about him and his issues when he's not in that square on Saturday afternoons? I wouldn't.
Right.
Not with the University of Miami's money, I wouldn't. But
no, and we're the University of Miami. You're going to hire Lane and not think that the NCAA is going to be watching us like a hawk. You know what I mean? Just like if we hired Hugh Freeze, same thing. They're going to watch us like a hawk. There's certain people that we just can't hire, and Lane Kiffin happens to be one of those people. We just can't as an athletic department. And he would be my number 2. I actually agree with Flex. He would be, because when you break it down to the criteria that I said, can he sit in a South Florida living room and command the presence like you're talking about and actually compete with a Nick Saban? Yeah, Lane Kiffin can from time to time. He ain't going to win them all.
He might be
got
a
shot
from time to time. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, but he's, like I said, the NCAA would be all over us. We can't move in that way. Something I want to go back to an earlier caller. I think it was, I forget his name now. He was from LA. I think he was trying to bring up another podcast, right?
That was Peter.
What was the name? Peter. Yeah, okay.
Peter from LA, yeah.
That was exactly, Peter from LA. I think we all listen to all the podcasts. I mean, no offense, I hope it don't break your heart or nothing, but if you're a Miami fan, we're listening to them all. We want everybody's opinion. We want any little bit of news that we get.
I barely have the time to do our own, much less listen to any other one.
Hey, and we appreciate your time, no doubt.
Yeah,
and I still got to say, the Good Morning CaneSport is the brightest thing that you ever did. I love waking up and watching that in the morning. But I think he was listening to another podcast, and it was you know who it is. It was the guy that asked the question to Manny about Blake James and about whether that's hindered his recruiting and everything like that. But he didn't take it far enough. So this is on the podcast. He got into it a little bit further. And what he said was basically, so if Miami wins out, like we all think they probably will, right, and it's an 8-4 team, and our administration isn't known for making the tough decision or putting on their big boy pants, like you were saying. They got skinny jeans, remember, Gary? That basically what would happen in that situation is that if they kept Manny, because they won out, they were like, okay, well, you get another year, you went 8-4, good job, the team responded to you, we believe in what you're selling. Well, they have to get rid of Blake James at that point because he threw him under the bus, tried to distance himself from him, and has made recruiting worse so that next year his team won't be as good as it was this year. And there's no point in keeping a lame-duck coach, because if you don't address the issue, basically what he was saying is you have to give him an extension, because that's the only way you can show recruits in the 2023 or whatever recruiting cycle that is, that I am, a viable coach. Mm-hmm. Which I explain that in a terrible way. It's kind of cold outside and I'm shivering a little bit, but that it actually makes a ton of sense. Like if they in any way decide to go ahead and keep Manny for the next year, they almost have to give him an extension because of what Blake James did. And by circumstance or extension, they have to fire Blake James, which is my number one thing. I could give a crap about Manny Diaz, because whoever the next AD is going to end up firing him anyway. So, I don't worry about – you don't see me saying fire Manny Diaz on your every post that you make on Facebook. You see me say or fire Blake James, because he's the guy that's got to go. So do you agree with that scenario, that if he wins out and they decide to keep him and all that, that they would almost have to give him an extension and fire Blake James? Do you see that as a scenario that could unfold?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I personally think that Blake's in a little bit of trouble, and I think that if you're talking about the University of Miami athletic program and taking it to the next level and making it a modern day enterprise and everything else, I don't know that that's in Blake James's wheelhouse. I think you need something different. And
I think we all know that it's not in Blake James' wheelhouse.
Yeah, so if that's what you're talking about doing, and you're going to start putting more money into athletics, and you're going to try to build the modern day athletic department that, from a branding standpoint, from an NIL standpoint, and all the things that are going into it, hiring better coaches, spending more money, and all those things, I'm just not sure that's in his wheelhouse. So I think ultimately that he's in trouble regardless. I think that the whole thing about him saying what he said a few weeks ago, killing recruiting, is total baloney. Recruiting was no place before.
It was already dead.
It was already dead. Yes, that's a bunch of nonsense. Recruiting is no different today than it was a month ago. Again, if I'm Manny and I'm trying to keep my job, I see why he would spin it like that. I'm not knocking Manny on that either. But, yeah, that's a bunch of nonsense. Recruiting is no different today than it was a month ago.
Do you think there's more of a division between them two now, where they're not tied at the hip and best buds?
No, there's no doubt there's a little division. I mean, listen, you got two guys desperately trying to keep their jobs. So they're saying and doing whatever they think is going to help them do that. And I don't know what made Blake think that doing those media things a few weeks ago was going to help him in any way. But if somebody advised him to do that, he got some very bad advice, because that was a freaking
he
debacle.
threw all his chips in on that Manny
that was a debacle,
Manny
man.
lost
that was
that
terrible.
Virginia game, then it was over. Manny would have been out the door right after that.
Yeah, I don't know, but that was a debacle. What I heard was that there was never any intention to fire Manny during the season. But
no, well then if that was the case, then he should have kept his mouth shut, because that is.
Yeah, there was no reason to do what he did. No reason to do what he did. What they didn't want to do is start throwing all kinds of money in the garbage with interim coaches and this and that. And they wanted to be organized and get their ducks in a row, and that's what they've been doing. I have no issues, like I said, with anything I've been seeing and hearing.
See, it still always goes back to screw the interim coach thing. You don't have to do that. You still could have did what LSU did. Could have let him finish out.
But where's it gotten LSU? Quite frankly, think about it. What's the what? All right, so everybody knows Orgeron is out at the end of the year. So what? So
recruits know that they're going to be hiring somebody better than Ed Orgeron.
Right, but they can't recruit those recruits
no one knows
now because
that
they have no idea who the coach is anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it maybe slows down their plans. These kids are fickle, man. I mean, the moment somebody comes up to them and gives them something slight, like, hey, you don't know what's going to happen in Miami, but we got the spot here. They're filling up quick. Boom, I'm going to
We just
whatever
talked a
school,
few minutes ago. I think it might have been with you. It might have been with Flex. I don't know. But we just talked about all the blue-chip kids from South Florida that would come to Miami if there was a coaching change. These kids, right now it looks like Shamar Stewart's going to Texas A&M. But if Mario Cristobal comes to Miami, that might change real fast, right? So it doesn't matter.
Well, if he's in
it doesn't
but
matter.
Here's the problem. If he's in the playoffs, then he won't be playing his final game until after December, right? So the early signing period will be totally screwed, and the only person we know of who's waiting until February is Shamar.
He could accept the Miami job, and he could still coach the team for the playoffs. That would be good for everybody. That would be good for Oregon too, because Oregon could get about their business of replacing him also. It doesn't mean he couldn't coach the team for the playoffs.
No, it doesn't.
The playoffs not till the end of December. Playoffs at the end of the month. You got a month, 3.5 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Like, there's no reason that.
Yeah, but generally they don't like people being in their front office, recruiting for, let's say Miami in this instance, while they're coaching the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
but you're not going to tell a coach he can't coach in the college football playoff. I listen, it would all work itself out. If Mario were going to leave Oregon, isn't it in Oregon's best interest to know that sooner than later? It's like it's
for
in
sure,
everybody's
because there's
interest.
so many teams out there trying to get a coach right now. Of course, it's in their best interest. They
have
to be. Yeah, everybody wants the jump start. Of course, yeah, because I mean you got big name college, which is also scary. That's kind of another reason why people need to chill out with stuff, because it kind of is Mario or bust. Like all those other guys are going to be going to these other schools. At least PJ Fleck's off the market with his 7-year extension. or something like that, I think I saw. So, that's basically, I guess I give you a little rundown. So, I guess Jordan Travis, this was his first day practicing with the team.
Yep.
He's finally not sick. Nobody in this town, I'm an Uber driver in Tallahassee, man, nobody feels good. They think we're going to whoop them. We're going to dominate them. We're going to just going to embarrass them. So,
we'll see.
That's the mood in Tallahassee. Like, they're not feeling good about this.
We'll see.
So, but yeah.
I mean, they beat North Carolina, which has a pretty good offense.
Yeah, but they beat them 2 years in a row, right? When North Carolina,
but they did it. They did it. I mean, they played. They played Clemson, down to the wire. I mean, this is a team that's capable of putting a game together.
Oh, for sure.
Not Clemson. I meant
sure.
Notre Dame. They played Notre Dame down to the wire. Clemson, they had a really tight game.
That was a half. I had to watch it with my roommate. That was halfway decent.
Not that
but
good. So we'll see, man.
Together, but they're a total rushing team, and we're pretty good against the rush. They can't pass.
Are we?
Which we're
really
compared to.
Where are you getting that? Where are you getting that from? Just out of curiosity.
Just watching games. Like, we're better against the rush.
You mean like the North Carolina game last year, where they ran for 500 and something yards?
Yeah, talking this year.
With a defensive line that's better than the defensive line this year. You know what? Here's what happens is you, and I'm not blaming you or anybody, but to me, what happens is people lose sight of matchups. It's all about matchups week to week. What great rushing team has Miami played this year? Outside of maybe Bama. I mean, Michigan State. Did you see what that running back at Michigan State did to our defense?
Yeah, he shredded them. But that was early in the year. I think we're a lot better.
It's not about early in the year. It's
right?
about matchups. It's about matchups. They had a decent offensive line. They had a running back that was an elite running back. He made us look silly, right?
Yeah.
So North Carolina
absolutely.
passing team, Pittsburgh passing team. I don't even know what to begin to call Georgia Tech, but they hit some running plays the other day.
That kid was clearly hurt. If he wasn't the drunk thing that you're saying or going out
the quarterback,
on
there's something wrong with him.
Yeah, because I've watched Jeff Sims and he was
he
a good quarterback. He's not
great, he didn't even try to run. He was not even close to being the same Jeff Sims. So but I'm just talking about matchups against the running game. We are weak on the defensive line and weak at linebacker. Now you tell me that a good running football team can't expose the defense.
Oh, they certainly can. All right, we'll answer this real quick before you let me go. Are we better against the pass, or are we better against the run?
Against the pass.
Overall as a team this year. You think the pass? Because I feel like those 500 yards that we keep giving up each, like Pitt, those 500 yards of passing. We held them to under 100 yards rushing, I think.
Yeah, but they don't run the ball very much. They were throwing it, what the guy throw? 50, Kenny Pickett threw 52 times in that game or something?
Yeah, some stupid amount of times.
I mean, it's matchups,
but,
man.
Yeah.
It's matchups. All right, Travis,
Well,
let me
we'll
let you
see
run,
this
man.
week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the call. You got it, man. Bye-bye. Have a great night. Let's go back out to the 854. All of our Tallahassee Canes fans calling in tonight. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Gary, what's going on?
Doing great. Who's this?
Hey, this is Dwayne 10. Hey,
What's
I
up,
agree
Dwayne?
with you what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying about Mario, and I agree also about not just throwing money in the bank on a coach, you know, for change. You know, if we don't get Mario, I think, first of all, I think the administration need to make a decision how serious they want to be about football. I think that's the first and most important step. If they're going to pump money into the program, then it needs to be overhauled from top to bottom. I think
I agree. I totally agree with you. So let me ask you a question. So if they come out and in a month from now and they replace Blake James and then they go out and they lure Mario, they're making a statement to you, right?
Right. I would agree.
You're like, damn, now we're serious, right?
Now,
and frickin' South Florida is insane over University of Miami football, right? They can't frickin' wait to see where this thing goes, right?
I agree 100%.
Now let's say they do the opposite and do nothing. What happens?
If they don't do nothing, then we probably gonna just be a middle of the road program. So
and everybody's pissed as hell, right? The whole damn town is pissed. Everybody that cares about Miami football is pissed. The donors don't want to donate anymore. They don't want to go to games anymore, which they haven't been this year, by the way. All the top donors and boosters in this program haven't come close to going on the road with the team this year. It's a whole different deal, right? And everybody's sitting there saying that the University of Miami is not serious about winning.
It's not serious about winning. You know,
I think they don't have a choice. That's what I
agree with you, but they're gonna have at what level of commitment do they make? That's the key to all this. What level of commitment? I agree with what you're saying because they can go middle of the road and we can twiddle our thumbs like with Manny or whoever, you know those type coaches, and they try to go on the cheap end. Or do they spend the money and get a top-tier coach and pay the salaries of assistants? Because we've always, if we go back to the history of Miami, we've always done everything on the cheap end. And it works out in sometimes, and sometimes it don't. The times that it don't work out, it takes us forever to recover. But when it works out, you go with the Bush, the Jimmy. Those guys took the job and they ran with it. Like you said, they own the town. I agree with you. They own the town. But they were talent evaluated. They put good staff together. But when you're operating in today's society, you can't operate on the cheap level because
I don't think they're looking to operate on the cheap level anymore. I think they understand that. I think they understand. I think they understand that, and I think they're ready. I think they're ready to do it the right way. I really do. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I think they're ready to do it the right way. I think they don't have a choice. I think that if you just take a look at what I just laid out there, now let's go forward. Recruiting. Right. What does recruiting look like with the status quo as opposed to the change that everybody's talking about? Well, we just said that the three top players from South Florida, Shamar Stewart, Nigel Lee Kelly, Earl Little, would suddenly probably be coming to Miami.
I agree. I definitely do. Or at
Wesley Bissains probably could be coming to Miami.
Right. We will at least have a 60% or 70% chance to get them. We have probably
now, let me throw something else out at you. That guy's been recruiting all the top players all over the country because that's what they do in Oregon. They don't putz around and be a non-player on the national landscape in recruiting. They're going after the best player in almost every damn state. Well,
so
this guy's got relationships with every one of them. He's been talking to them on the phone every week for 2 years. We're not even a player. Miami is not a player right now in recruiting on a national level. Not even in the conversation.
I agree
like,
with you. I agree
do you
with
understand what the difference what a different program this becomes the second that you will yourself to go do that? And I feel terrible because it probably sounds like I'm disrespecting Manny or whatever. Manny can't even begin to run this program at the level that it would be operating under if the president's office summons the will in the next 3 weeks to move. And it could be, the whole thing could be fixed in a day or two. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I realize that. And we could go through every single level of this thing. We just went through 2 of them, recruiting and then the overall general mood and attitude about the program.
And it was cured instantly with one hire.
With 2 hires, probably.
It was with 2 hires. It was upgraded. And also, I think the athletic director has to go.
Well, I don't know that he can operate the athletic program at the level it's going to have to go to. I don't know that he can do that.
And that's what I'm agreeing on, that he can't. Because look at the past, when we won championships, we had a great athletic director who recognized talent, who was ahead of the game. Now we've been getting middle-of-the-road athletic directors. Their job is basically fundraising. So they're going to be excellent at fundraising. Hiring coaches, if you look across the board on Miami Athletic Department, we're subpar all across the board. I mean, let's take Coach Jim Larinaga out of it because of he was behind the 8 ball. He's probably the better coach out of all our major sports that we have on board.
Yeah, the only problem with Jim is he's starting to get older now. It's going to get tougher and tougher. But I say that, but they may get a commitment from a kid tomorrow that'll give them a top 15 probably recruiting class.
Right. And that's the only coach that we have that's above average. Everybody else is average or below. And and I was listening to what you're saying, that we have nobody in the department that ever have won a championship. So how can Stevie Wonder lead Ray Charles if they've never won one? How are they going to say, well, this is the direction we need to go? Because they've never been there before. So we're just their department is just filling around in the dark, and no disrespect to them, because I think they're probably doing the best job that they can do to the level that they know how to do it. Mario went to Alabama, and I was so about him, but he learned from the best. If you look at the tree that Saban has produced, those guys are winning. They go and learn under Saban, and they take his program. Let's take the guy down there at Georgia. It took him a while to keep going. He's built a great defense. The only question that I got: do you think Mario will keep our offensive coordinator?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't. I think there would be a sweeping changes. I could think of a few guys in the recruiting office maybe.
Right.
I think Feely would have a chance to stick.
Right.
Maybe somebody like maybe a Stephen Field who worked for Mario at Oregon, but I don't think that they would keep too many.
Right. We definitely need Manny's not going to hire one, but we need another approach. From where we came from with Golden, with the passive defense, Manny was an upgrade over that. But was he elite defensive coordinator? No. He was a middle-of-the-road defensive coordinator. So he was better than what we had, but he's not the one to get us to the point we need. We can't play any defense. All the great Miami teams, they play defense. That's all I have, Gary. All
right, man.
Appreciate talking to you. You can leave me on. I enjoy it.
Thank you for being part of the show. All right, guys, I'm going to finish off here with some rapid fire, going through some of the topics and questions that were submitted on the CaneSport.com message board for the show. can Manny turn this season around and win the fans back? I mean, I think he's already turning the season around. He's won 3 in a row. I don't know that it's possible that he'll win the fans back. I mean, have you heard anybody on this show tonight that would suggest that he can win the fans back? I don't think that's doable. Thoughts on recruiting? I think I've been pretty clear on that. Recruiting is absolutely no place. Will the FSU game make a difference at this point in recruiting? Maybe a little bit. I mean, it could have an effect on a kid like a Wesley Saints, maybe. But in the grand scheme of things, recruiting is pretty much no place, and I don't see that changing in the next month. Let's see. How do I compare Miami's inaction approach behind the scenes to that of USC, LSU, Nebraska, Washington, Texas Tech, Florida? Are those schools reactionary? Well, I mean, Dan Mullen was reactionary in getting rid of his defensive coordinator, but I think that was going to happen anyway. They had to find some scapegoat in Gainesville. Mullen's got a $12 million buyout. I don't think they're about to pay it unless he decides to go to the NFL or something. I think he'll stick at Florida. So they had to sell something, no different than Miami changing up the coaching staff the last 2 years. It's all a mind, you know what, 4-letter word that I'm not going to use here out of respect, but that's all most of this stuff is. It's all mental games that they play with their fan bases. I would make the argument that USC and LSU accomplished absolutely nothing doing what they're doing. Okay, woohoo. So everybody knows that USC is going to get a new coach. So what? How many kids are going to commit to go to USC having no clue who the coach is? How many kids are going to go to LSU right now having no clue who the coach is? You're still going to have to go through the process in a few weeks anyway. So, to me, what difference does it make really? Let's see. It seems like Blake, the Board of Trustees, and the President have had their head in the sand for 18 years and have no clue what urgency is and why in any business you can't sit back on your heels. I think that these guys that are heading this up for the President, I think they do have a clue what urgency is. I think they do understand that in business you can't sit back on your heels. I think the people that are advising them understand that in business you can't sit back on your heels. And I think we're going to find out in a few weeks what that means. Like I said, I don't know what the end game is going to be, but I have reported on a lot of this. There's a few things I haven't reported on because if I did, it would be real problematic, quite frankly, and would screw up a lot of people, and I'm not looking to do that. But, I think that these guys have the right idea, and I think they're going about it the right way. And we will find out where that leads them, and I don't have the answer to where it's going to lead them, but I do like what I am seeing and hearing, and I think they do have a clue about urgency, and I think they do have a clue about business you can't sit back on your heels. Now, if 8-4, 7-5 is what they want, then I guess we know where they stand. That's not what I don't think that's what anybody wants. I don't. The issue right now is what can they do about it in a very short time frame. So we're going to see. We don't know. Let me tell you something. We could sit here and talk all night about Mario like we have, and that's, I talk about Mario because I have such a conviction on this, and you guys know who have been listening to me know I've had it for more than just the last few weeks. I had the conviction on it 3 years ago when Manny was hired, and look at what's happened. Mario won back-to-back Pac-12 titles. He won the Rose Bowl. He's recruiting at as high a level as anybody in the country at Oregon, and he would have more to work with at Miami. And I'm not talking about beautiful facilities. I'm talking about the greatest resource of talent in the country, right down the street. Do you have any idea how Mario has to, forget about him, how he has to wear out his coaching staff recruiting, that every single player that they have to go see, they have to get on a plane and take all that time and travel and all that? You don't have to do that at Miami. Half your recruits are within driving distance of campus. It seems like the 2021 recruits had a love for Manny. They banded together in a COVID year, and Manny did a great job of taking advantage of what he had to work with last year in that the Leonard Taylors, the Cam Kinchins, the Romello Brinsons, the James Williamses, they weren't out taking trips. You know, the COVID was a game changer in 2021. Coaches couldn't come to see them. The relationships couldn't be built. It was a whole different deal. Now you're back to a normal year this year, or let's say a more normal year, and you're seeing everything go back to the way it was. That tells you that the problem didn't really go away last year. It was always there. The problem stayed, and it's back this year. And right now, Miami football recruiting is pretty much no place. So that's that'll pretty much sum up all the questions that were submitted on the message boards. I think we've covered enough tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Great calls, great conversation. We'll see what happens this Saturday. I'm expecting, like I said, another real tight game that goes into the fourth quarter, just like all these ACC games. And I think Florida State's going to give the Hurricanes a tough game. Hope I'm wrong. Never. You know, you love those games where the Canes run all over Florida State. Pattern doesn't suggest that's what's going to happen. So we'll see. Florida State's better than Georgia Tech. Okay, and you saw what happened against Georgia Tech at home. It found a way to be close. So we'll see what happens. All right, I want to thank everybody for listening. We'll be back here next week with another CaneSport Live. You've got us every morning. Good morning, CaneSport. And let me tell you something before we go home tonight. Do not miss the Lamar Thomas show tomorrow night. I think it's going to be epic. We're going to have some Florida State players, alumni on, Miami alumni, and the first segment of the show we'll have some current players as well on the show. It should be a great Lamar Thomas show tomorrow night. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time.